or something up in this playground because it was the scene.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Jared. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I apologize for us starting a little late. The board was in executive session. A vote was taken on overtime issues, and it was a unanimous vote in favor. So without any further ado, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to start our workshop?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on tonight's agenda is we have a guest. We have Dale Cusack, who is the chair of the Joint Veterans Council, and he is here to give Memorial Day Caravan Awards to members of the Lake Carmel Fire Department, our police department, and the town of Kent. So Dale, I invite you to the microphone.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. On behalf of the Putnam County Joint Veterans Council and all of our member organizations, of which there are many, we want to thank the town and its resources for all the help they gave us in putting on the Caravan last year, as it was such a difficult year to do celebrations of any kind. We do plan on having all the normal celebrations this year at the various memorials like we always have in the past. So
Wonderful.
please come and join us.
Will do.
I have 3 certificates to give out. One, I'll start with you.
Thank you.
The second one that I have the representative from the fire department.
Oh, there's a bunch.
Thanks for all that you did to make it a memorable past with the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dale. And we look forward to attending these ceremonies in person this year. Absolutely. Will do. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Carmel Central School District Bus Depot discussion. We have invited several members of the Carmel Central School District Board to be with us here tonight. The town board and I believe many of our residents have a lot of concerns about this project. And we thought the most efficient way to address these concerns was to have representatives of the school board here tonight so that we can have an actual discussion and a back and forth and, you know, have some of our questions answered. And our questions, I think, are the questions of a lot of our residents. So you are David Shaw. So if you want to introduce
I certainly
who's
will.
here this evening.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor and members of the council. We do appreciate this opportunity to meet and to present and answer any questions that you might have. So today we're joined with by 3 board members, Deborah Heitman Kay, Eric Middlestat, and Jason Paraskiva. Our superintendent of schools is here with us, Mary Margaret's there. And also our architect, David Samuel, who has prepared a slideshow that could be handed out or shown at your pleasure. And We are looking forward to moving ahead with the project in coordination and cooperation with the town. We think that the two governments need to work together in the interest of the people of the town of Kent and the citizens of the school district. So at this point, I'd like to turn this over to the architect, David Sammel, and then he can hand out to you a slideshow, and if you'd like, he can present the slideshow at the meeting.
Okay, may I?
You may.
Okay. Mr. Shaw, I'm Councilman Bill Eustace. I'm the woodchuck that's lived here all my life. I know the three school board members. Mr. Paraskiva grew up with his family, okay? Deborah, I know, and Mr. Middlestat, we go back too many years. And first of all, I want to welcome the new school superintendent to our community. And this is a plus for us in members of our, and some of them are residents or right over the line, coming, and what you just said, in working together. We tried to work together a few years ago and we came to the school board and didn't go off too good. We do have some concerns. I don't know about a slideshow. That maybe is later on. We have some serious questions that I hope we can have a dialogue. I am not here, and I'm going to say we are not here to be contentious. I graduated Carmel High School. My 4 sons did. And we know a lot of the families that we grew up here together. But also, as a town councilman, as someone who has enjoyed the quality of life in our town and our school district, I had some things that have really bothered me, and I'm glad tonight. I hope we have some exchanges on some of the concerns that have come on. My phone has been calling on different questions. I read a lot of stuff, and I'm very happy, Mr. Shaw, that you're here tonight. And I'm very happy that the representatives and our school superintendent here, it's a positive, because the last couple of years, it wasn't happening. And we have some serious questions, and I think we need to get that round first before we see whatever plans you have in building a project or something, because I'll briefly say my concern is the zoning integrity of Route 52, the health, safety, and welfare of our residents, includes the kids. And we'll go into these details. I think we got to get into that first before we see a architectural plan of a conceptual plan of a brand new bus garage, because that's maybe round 2 or 3, and that's my personal thought. I'll turn it over. I'm sorry, take it over. This is close to me. I grew up on that hill. Okay, I've mentioned this before to some other school board members. I'm happy that some of the people live close by. Some of them do close by to this because it's important, but it's dear to my heart. And let's get rocking and rolling here and get some questions, and I'll tone it down a little bit. I'll leave it. I'm sorry I took over, but I'm raring to go.
Yeah, and I think that, it's very nice to see a presentation. I know that a presentation was done a couple of months ago at the school board meeting. And again, our concern initially with this project coming to Kent was fiscal. That's what our concern, first of all, was, that the town of Kent has very few developable properties in a commercial or industrial district. So to take a huge piece of property out of our tax rolls when that hill was leveled, which we have a lot of residents that, are very concerned about kind of the leveling of our hillsides and what it does to our aquifers and all this other stuff. But we were very concerned because we have so few available commercial properties. The school board brought it to a referendum. I'm told 4 times. I'm aware of 3. It got defeated twice. in the recent past and then was brought up at kind of an inopportune time. I mean, it seems like a time that was kind of planned to have it succeed, and it did. It didn't succeed in the town of Kent. People in the town of Kent really opposed this project every time it was put forth, every single time. And so it went through. I mean, there's kind of nothing we can do about that unless, you know, we can get people to vote a fourth or fifth time, depending on how you count it. But there are other concerns now that this is a project that's going forward. And one of our concerns, and I'll start it off, is that it's not a permitted use in that area. And it's just gone ahead as if the town has no say over its own zoning, and that, you know, the school board can come in and put whatever it wants there. And it clearly isn't a use for that piece of property. And I don't know how it gets to go forward, I have to say.
Well, I can speak to the legal aspect of that. So the school district is part of the University of the State of New York, and we're an arm of that sovereign. And as such, we do have the ability to purchase land. And unless there's a specific health, safety, or welfare objection that's palpable, we can go forward and purchase land. And this was done in a situation where they were looking for suitable parcels. And as it turned out during the study, those parcels were in the town of Kent, and there were various expenses to the different parcels. The one that was selected had previously been through a very comprehensive secret review, and the schools board added on to that, secured outside counsel, a very reputable land use firm, Cy Paget and Rizal, and they assisted in terms of that secret process. The town was an interested party in that, and it went ahead. Perhaps you didn't think that the vote would succeed that time, but it did. And then the question is, what is the school district to do, given the mandate from the voters of 6 different towns that comprise the towns within the Carmel Central School District? So we've been in contact with SED. They want us to work cooperatively, and the particular concerns would be health, safety, and welfare concerns. And we want to make every commitment to meet every legitimate concern that the town might have. We have a design professional, we have engineers, site engineers, to make sure that that happens. We're concerned about the aesthetics. We want it to be a good-looking project. And there may even be chances for intermunicipal cooperation where we can have certain benefits for the town as a result of the building and the facilities that will be there. So that's our attitude in approaching the town board. And that's really the legal background, the underpinnings of why we are ready to proceed with this.
But you haven't answered my question, how the school district can skirt our zoning laws. I understand, you know, health, safety, and welfare, but if it's not a permitted use in that area without coming to the town in some form, whether it's the town board or the ZBA, how can the school board go forward with the project?
There's a long history of school districts, public school districts being able to acquire land and the local codes would not apply. We've studied your code. The code does not refer to other municipal entities. Very few of them would. We also studied the particular aspects of the code in the zones in which the property is located. But for the name bus garage, the uses that are intended are consistent with uses within the zone. So, you know, we lament the fact that there will be perhaps some negative economic effect in that it cannot be alienated to a taxable owner, but that's an unfortunate byproduct of what has happened with the project.
And
So the position is that as long as the use is close enough that you can proceed despite our zoning law to the contrary.
Not only close enough, but that it wouldn't apply when a school district is the owner of the property.
So that you could put a bus garage in a residential neighborhood, not that you would, but you're saying that the law allows you to put a bus garage in a residential neighborhood without any restrictions whatsoever. That's your position on the relationship between local zoning and the school district's purchase of property?
In my opinion, that is likely, and it's based upon a New York State Court of Appeals decision involving Cornell University. And in that case, not a public school district, part of the University of the State of New York, but a private university wanted to build in a residential area. And in that case, the court said that residential areas may be a little different, but ultimately the test is going to come down to whether there's a health, safety, or welfare implication to the project. So in this case, we're not in a residential area. We're in a commercial area, so there should be less of a concern and less of a contingent legal liability based upon the question that you posed.
I interpret it somewhat differently. I am familiar with the Cornell case that Mr. Shaw has referenced. I think that
Mike.
he's right when he says that we have to be concerned about health and safety and welfare issues. And the Court of Appeals in that case was particularly concerned about welfare issues that relate to the entire community. The more current case law, however, has said that schools or other municipalities that seek to develop in a municipality, and in those cases they're referred to as intruders, shouldn't come into our municipality and assume that they have a blanket exemption from all of our zoning regulations. And there was a recent case called Como versus East Williston School District, where they said that the test is, another test is if the state or the federal government doesn't have a regulation that governs a particular aspect of zoning, then our zoning regulations should be followed. And to my knowledge, the state of New York doesn't have any regulation saying what uses a particular district has as a principal use.
If I may address, there have been a couple of cases since the Cornell case. One case involved the Ravenna Coyman Selkirk School District, and it was a third department case. And that case involved the school district wanting to put up an electric kiosk on town land on a roadside. And the court said that the town, under its code, particularly related to the health, safety, and welfare of the travelers on the highway, that they had the right to regulate for that purpose. The case on Long Island that council was referring to was in a lower court. It's now on appeal to the appellate division, second department. It's a case of great interest, but I think distinguishable from here, where we had a very extensive secret process. And in that case, it's the matter of a school district wanting a fence that would be about 2 feet higher than a typical fence. Many in the industry, the school law industry, were puzzled at that outcome, and they're hopeful for an overturn in the courts in the second department down in Brooklyn. We're in that same department. That department usually takes 2 to 3 years to decide a case. So if litigation is in our future, you know, that would have to be the case. It would be a shame to have the taxpayers of the town of Kent funding litigation on both sides, and then the other taxpayers of the district also funding litigation when there should be a cooperative resolution.
Does the town, I'm sorry, just to button this, does the school district intend to make an application to our zoning board?
We weren't intending to do that. We would like to move ahead with the project. And again, holding out whatever interests you have in the nature of health, safety, and welfare, and to resolve those if they're legitimate concerns.
You said you did your SECA process for that
Yes,
property,
yes,
and we were an interested party.
right.
Did anybody get anything? Hello? Interesting. I look forward to when we discuss about health, safety, and welfare, especially if you're telling us the seeker process was conducted by the Carmel School District through whatever means and whatever that company you said, when we get to that, wow, okay. Because that was one of my questions that I was going to ask the attorney or whoever was in charge. Did the Carmel School District go through a seeker process? Because now, wow. Let's continue, guys. What's next?
So let me just say that we weren't the law firm that was counseling on that. That was Cy Paget and Rizal. from New
Well,
York
I
City.
would like an investigation of some sort. I think our business superintendent is in the audience and maybe, but I would like to see who is the interested party in us and if that process was given due diligence to our town. I'm sorry, I have to ask that.
That's
And again,
fair.
I'm asking questions. I'm not getting up and punching anybody out. I just want to know because I want to make sure that everything has been done correct. Okay, because that bothers me now and you'll find out in a little while.
So you don't intend to go through our zoning board or you don't
Right.
think that,
Right, we don't think that it's applicable.
That's how we were treated a couple of years ago. It's like, okay, thank you very much. In fact, I don't think any of the professionals, I think there's a couple of professionals in the back were at the meeting. There was no lawyers involved, I don't think, but, and I'm listening to this now, so it's interesting. Just forget about our town, but you're going to put this down there, and there's a health, safety, and welfare we haven't gotten to yet. Some concerns, and again, go ahead, Maureen.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming too. This is my first real involvement with this bus project. I'm learning a lot as we go on it. I think one of my big concerns is I've been the liaison for the planning board, and I know that there's been some stormwater violations and stuff up there. To my knowledge, it still have not been corrected from the previous owner. Are you aware of that?
We were aware that there were certain citations just prior to the time of the closing of the property, and we had understood they had been resolved.
So,
And there were not citations issued after the closing of the property.
so it's my knowledge that our building inspector has never been allowed back on the property to close those out.
He's welcome back.
this is the first we're hearing because those have been outstanding
They've been
since
outstanding
before
for a
you
while.
closed.
Several
We're
months.
still holding the bond on those stormwater projects. On those violations, on that.
Now that could be a legitimate health, safety, and welfare issue and should be resolved. So we'd certainly welcome that visit. We had a site engineer out there during the past week since it's thawed to take a look at it. So please, let's have that done.
Staying on the environmental issue, have you did any water testing out there? Drilled any wells, tested any water?
I'll have to defer to our architect on that. If there are technical questions, is Dave Samuel here? Would you come forward, David?
Yeah, you have to be at the microphone.
Gotta stay on the agenda.
So the well that was used during the mining operation has been abandoned, and a new well was drilled, and the water was tested. And we have to do some treatment, but it'll be potable water.
Say that again.
It will be potable water.
They said they have to do some
We have to
treatment.
do some treatment, which is not unusual.
So this facility, and I don't know if you're the right one to ask, is going to have a wash station, a bus wash station in it to wash the buses?
That's correct.
And is the volume of what, I worry about our resident neighbors in that area and the water table that's underneath there and how much volume of water you're gonna be sucking out of the water table that's associated with the other residents around there, plus the chemicals you're gonna be using on your buses to wash them, the oil, the gas, and everything coming off of them, and where all that's gonna end up comparable to the wetlands, the bioretention swales, the water table down below. I mean, to me, these are all health, welfare, and safety issues that should be well planned out ahead of time, because it seems like we're always dealing with the cleanup after
Yep.
these projects go in instead of dealing with how we get to that in the first place.
And all of those issues are being addressed. We have either received or we're working towards all the permitting for the stormwater. The bus wash system is virtually 100% recycle. I don't know the number of gallons it uses per wash, but it's very, very few. So it's not a high volume of water. And just like you said, it's not the volume of water that's determining how much we can use in a day. It's how much water is coming off the buses and has to get processed. So all that water either gets reclaimed and filtered and reused, or the little bit of water that does come off is captured, filtered, and is all part of our stormwater permit.
So none of the, what do you call it, the wastewater coming off the buses ends up back in the environment in any way, shape, or form?
I wouldn't say that, because what I said is it gets filtered and treated, and then
And tested?
if it makes its way through all that system and there's overflow, it would go into the retention basins, and that's what they're designed for.
Okay.
But certainly no more than what would wash off a highway when the rain starts. You know, there's a lot of residual. So this is all filtered. Everything that gets captured in that bus wash goes through a drainage system and a filtration system and a reclamation system.
So
Nothing goes straight out into the retention
let's
basin.
go back to a comment, and it just dawned on me what you had said about the well. You said that it's going to be made potable. It's not, it didn't come out as clean water now with what you drilled?
No, there's always chemicals in water that you have to treat for. It could be either softening, it could be sediment, things like that. I'm just saying the pure water that comes out of a well isn't always potable right from the start.
No serious chemicals that you might have found?
I don't know the details, but no.
Say that again?
I don't know exactly what the report showed, but no, nothing that we're going to need to do anything extraordinary, or nothing that's going to cause the well to not be usable for drinking water.
Want to stay on the water? Okay. I know was heavy blasting there. Dynamite, there might be dynamite residue on the soil. I don't know. I'm not the engineer. I'm not the expert. The water, does the water have serious chemicals that possibly are affecting local wells? I don't know. All I do is get rumor mill, that there's the dynamite dust has contaminated that area, and it should be a concern from some of the old timers. I don't know if you're the person that does that and checks on that, but I would hope that the 3 school board members that are in the audience checks on the water quality. There could be some serious questions that need to be answered as far as water quality. And then the water aquifer that goes to the surrounding communities. And again, I'm not an expert, but you could have a water aquifer that could go off Ludingtonville Road in some of those housing developments. You could have, there's 2 gas stations down below, water quality. There's an apartment complex, the veterinarian right there, and there's a huge corporate, might be empty now behind you. I actually got a phone call. Why can't they use that for the bus garage? Because I believe it's an empty complex now. But has their wells been tested? I think that's very important. And Counselor, I don't know if did I say it correctly? Did you know, as far as a concern for the water quality in that area, I'd be concerned about the employees that are working there, and the transfer of kids, if that's a transfer station, when kids need to go different buses. I'd be concerned of the neighbors with their water source and making sure that the water quality is drinkable. I think that's a priority. And again, I get the calls at the house, but I wanted to bring it up to the school board's attention. That's probably one of the number ones, health and safety and welfare. And we got into some other things too, but Maureen, you want to get back on track here?
Can I just ask one more, and you may not be the right person, back to the seeker, the DEP, who is probably our biggest enforcer of water quality issues in our town by far, they were all part of the seeker. They were, you know, concerned, what do you call it? Like we were interested parties.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
I mean, because they're the ones that are going to be regulating the wetlands anywhere around there, and any drainage coming off that site, and all that's all going to be under the New York City DEP 100%, because it's completely in the in the watershed district.
Right, so all the applications that were filed as a part of the mining permit and the site restoration at the end of that included all of those retention basins, how the water is treated on the site and off the site, how the wetlands were protected from the mining operations. There was an approved site plan for a proposed building on that site, not ours, prior to us. And the seeker that we did modified the seeker that you started. So the environmental impact statement that was created, you modified
So
it.
you didn't do a whole new seeker for this project. You modified the existing seeker from the warehouse or something.
I don't want to state that, but I know that there was a basis of design for things like the retention basin and where the septic system.
It is very important, especially after the blasting. That previous owner promised us taxables on that property, warehouses right off 84. Oh, well, all this money you're going to get for your taxes. And by the way, 75% of that tax goes to the school district. So after the fact, I would hope that the school district protects their residents, and I believe I'm one too, with a seeker process that gets into the environmental issues. I think there's some things there. If the dynamite dust, whatever it is with these, I Googled this stuff, isotopes, radioactive isotopes, I don't know. But now you're telling me that the seeker process was prior when he was planning it.
Don't
You gotta
misrepresent
look
what
into
I
this.
said.
I'm
I was
asking you to
just
look
answering his
modified.
question.
Modified.
I just said that he asked if we started from the beginning, and I said there was a basis of design from the prior project. And that was used so that if we were to calculate water runoff, for example, we would look at what was done before and look and to see if the numbers need to be adjusted for what we were planning. And that was what, I don't really want to get into the details of the seeker because I didn't do it. I only observed it as it happened, but I'm just saying that.
But I don't want you to be blamed then. If somebody prior that maybe is not under employee from the school district anymore as a consultant or whatever, I think it's important that for everyone, including the school district leaders, to make sure that area and the seeker process and the environmental process is done correctly.
Especially given the fact that the seeker is, the stormwater parts of that are still in violation up there. They're still not even corrected, right? To my extent, I mean, you're talking about going off a plan or modifying it, but it's not right yet. That's why we're still holding the money on the original project. It's because it's not right. To say that, to sell this to our taxpayers or our school board voters there, that this was a buildable project when it really wasn't, was almost deceiving. Not that wasn't you, and I get that, but it wasn't ready to go because there was violations on it. But that's how it was sold through the pushing for it.
It's almost surprising that you could even have closed on this with outstanding violations. I mean, I know when you do a house closing, if there's not like a C of O or something, you don't finish the closing. And I have to say, going back to your point before about whether, this gets litigated because we have a difference of whether you follow our zoning code or you ride roughshod over the town, to make it as if are wanting to protect our residents and our town code and then costing them money because we want to stand up for our town. And we believe that even the school board has to follow our zoning code is a little offensive in that we can't just think about, well, we might have to file an injunction. I'm not saying that we're going to, but kind of that's the path you were going down. And we need to think how it's going to cost our taxpayers twice. Well, it's costing our taxpayers just walking in the door. I mean, this is a major issue for Kent residents. So if we have to ensure that our zoning code is followed, I mean, that's something, we're entrusted by our voters to make sure that their rights are protected. And so I just wanted to go back and make that point because it really kind of stuck in my craw.
I feel like I'm David and you're Goliath. And
I'm David.
I know. No, you know what I'm talking about.
No,
That's
I
how
understand.
we were treated the last couple of years to a point, and we went open arms trying to, let's work together. And if I remember, and I don't know if Deborah can help me, but there is a saying when the Carmel School District, there was hands and they all lunched in, and it was school, community, and something else, and they all locked their hands, and that was the theme of the Carmel School District. And in fact, I Googled, I think it's not there. I have to go back years now, but it was something that's very important, and maybe lost out on that. Because in some of the conversations that we had a year and a half ago, we met with the subcommittee of the school board. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do it. And that is very important. You don't want to pick on little David. We might not lose, you might not win the war, but we gotta protect our integrity of our town code. I keep on hearing all the town of Kent jokes, and we're gonna step up. We need some things answered here, and there's some serious questions as far as this process. We got to continue to.
Okay.
If I could just comment for a moment about the secret, listening to your concerns, I think they're very legitimate questions. We'd like to go back and review the incremental secret process, take a look at the interested parties to see that you were or weren't. It was my understanding that you were notified. And also to look into these health and safety issues. It's in everyone's interest. They're
There's
your
no issue
neighbors,
statement.
they're our residents.
But you've got, I would hope, and the school board is here, especially Eric and Deborah, and it is very important that you check the water quality of that location, address the wetlands, and the architect, as far as the stormwater and all that water, where is it going? All that runoff water. But there was blasting there. I'm going to repeat it again. Check the water quality. I think you might be surprised.
I guess, no, and I appreciate that, our health and safety, welfare, environmental concerns are important, and I think they are. What's kind of caught me here, and that's why my last question was, do you plan on going through zoning, is because the similar permitted uses in this district, like, for example, a motor vehicle service station, right? That would require site plan approval with our planning board. So we would have the planning board engineer, the planning board wetland and stormwater, all the people who are, I kind of chide the experts, but all the people who are, right, know these issues better than us, that all these projects are typically in front of to discuss all these questions. Without going to zoning and without getting a site plan approval and going to planning, you're not going through the standard process to do the type of question and answer. Well, this won't work, this will work. Well, this is a concern, this isn't a concern. And so while I appreciate we're going to be discussing the health, safety, and welfare concerns amongst us kind of casually, my concern is, well, if it just went through the normal process, if you say, yep, I'm applying for a use variance with zoning, and then I'm going to get site plan approved from the planning board, then all of our experts would be out there doing what they do and knowing that all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. But it seems like we're doing this quasi, we're coming in front of you, we're going to talk about things, but I'm not qualified to tell you how much stormwater is running off anywhere. Some people say I'm not qualified, but so that is my concern. We're here and we're not usually here. And so if you said, hey, listen, I get what you're saying, we're going to go through the at least site plan approval process, that maybe could be something we could say, okay, yeah, let's go through site plan approval with the planning board, and then we can circle back and get to the final end. My concern is we're running around that, and that's where I think things are going to get lost. I'll let you address that.
I'd like to echo that. I think Paul's statement is perfectly clear that if you went through that normal process, all the questions we have get answered, because that's the process that goes through to get them answered. Unfortunately, what you're saying is you don't have to go through that process, so we can't get our questions answered through with our experts reviewing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the difference here versus everyone in general and enforcement of your code is that we have to report to SED. They have a facilities and planning department, and we have to satisfy their requirements. Years ago, all SECRA used to go through SED as the lead agency. That's now devolved down to the local school districts, and we conduct the secret process. The district did engage one of the top law firms to assist, and I'd be surprised if the process wasn't done thoroughly. You know, we heard about updating the former one, so we'll get back to you on that. But this is also a matter of the time that it would take to satisfy two masters. We have to satisfy SED. They're a partner in the project. They would fund an estimated 58% of the project. And the other thing is, if you would consider in 722 school districts throughout the state, there are zoning issues, there are electrical codes, there are building codes. If the towns and local governments had that kind of jurisdiction and the state has that kind of financial liability, it just wouldn't work. So, you know, it isn't David and Goliath by choice. It's just that we're trying to find a practical solution that satisfies your interests, but allows the project to proceed in a timely manner. The more we delay, these things get more and more and more expensive. So that's where we're coming from. Not that we like to litigate. It's not a favorite hobby, although it is a profession for us.
Well, I think we're a little skeptical about, you know, wanting to work cooperatively, because when this project came up, I mean, you know, we had a lot of residents come to us and we were very concerned, and we did meet with members of the school board. Bill and I sat down with members of the school board. We had spoken to, you know, the county executive, who was talking about maybe some kind of bus wash facility. You know, there were other ideas floating around. There were other properties that were available. And the response to Bill and I was, no, this is the piece. This is the absolute only piece we're considering. And you can say what you want about your taxpayers, and you can say what you want about commercial development in your town. We are not going to consider other alternatives. So it's kind of interesting now to hear that this is a collaborative, cooperative process, because it was not. And to now come upon that there may be, you know, there certainly are outstanding violations. There may be environmental issues. There's a water thing, but we can't really tell you what it is. Going forward kind of makes us think maybe this wasn't the perfect piece of property from the beginning. But now that the school district has invested so much into this piece of property, there's no turning back. And now that the cost of this bus garage has basically tripled, I mean, do we have numbers in front of us for what the taxpayers voted on as the cost of the project and what was presented at a school board meeting as the cost of the project? It's kind of really snowballing into the voters were presented with something totally different from what's happening now and from what it's going to cost them. And with, you know, students being out of classes, I mean, congratulations that they're going to go back next week, but with students being out of school basically for a year, and to hear the school board say, well, we're going to have to probably raise taxes and we're going to hopefully get this project cut back, you know, makes the taxpayer and the resident, certainly of this town, a little skeptical.
Well, certainly the school board is accountable to its citizens, and you are to the town of Kent citizens, and hopefully we can reconcile interests in a meaningful way without having to resort to litigation.
So as I was asking to get caught up on this project a little, and talking amongst ourselves, I was asking, I guess, a little surprised. I haven't been on that site, but I've been on that hill for another issue that we're dealing with. And that is a steep hill coming up, not terribly steep, but it's an uphill climb from Ludingtonville up to where the Kent schools are now. It's an incline the whole way up. I got to imagine every single one of those buses pulling out of this transportation facility is going to be making, most all of them, maybe one or two are going the other way, be making a left-hand turn out of this facility out onto 52 and climbing up the hill. Is that correct?
Actually, I think Dave Semmel may have information about the traffic issue.
I don't know the specifics of it. Again, that's part of the environment, that's part of the review. We do a traffic study. And we definitely have to apply and receive a DOT permit before we go forward. But
Are they even considering a traffic light in the middle of the hill? How would they get all those buses at the right time? Now, you got a traffic light at the top of the hill when the buses come out.
I don't believe that a traffic light is being required by DOT, but we can definitely provide.
When would the traffic study be done?
It's pretty close to being done. It's a negotiation with DOT about, what's the average speed of traffic going in each direction on Route 52, left turn lane, turn lanes.
How many buses are they planning on pulling out of there at one time?
I'd have to look at the study. I don't have it. I didn't do it.
I wouldn't want to be going to work in the morning when they're all coming out and getting behind them. It's going to be a tough climb up that hill for lines of buses.
Dangerous.
Somebody from the school board must know how many buses. I mean, isn't that like a kind of a basic concept? The reason you needed this bus garage was because the other one was too small for all the buses and to accommodate. I mean, we must know for each session how many buses we have.
It's not.
Well, the buses are going to traverse those roads based upon the current bus routes. I guess the issue is if they're all originating from the same location, what is that going to be like?
Right. So, I mean, if you have, 50, I don't know. I mean, I have no concept, but I know where it is now and there is a stoplight. You don't want to be the person behind the buses when they're going out in the afternoon or they're coming back in the morning. And that hill, we had an issue in town. I would think most people are aware of it. It made the papers very frequently, where we had a project that they wanted to put in a truck stop. And I mean, apart from other environmental issues, which are still present with the bus garage, such as oil and fuel and all those other issues that our residents were very concerned about, one of the real concerns was the traffic pattern. And with a truck stop, I mean, they'd be mostly making the right and going to get on 84. And that's not going to be the case with the bus garage. So, I mean, that's a real concern for, we negotiated, they took out the truck stop because it was such an issue with our residents. And I mean, this is like an important answer kind of for us to have. I'm kind of surprised that you didn't do a traffic study before you bought that piece, because that seems to be a very major issue and it certainly affects the health, safety, and welfare.
Well, we'll go back and review the secret that was done and see if that isn't addressed already. We weren't exactly sure what your questions would be, so we didn't study everything for tonight, but we're happy to answer all of your questions.
I think the public would want to know some of these answers too. We should be referring those calls to possibly you that are asking us, because if you have that information. What else we got, Maureen?
I mean, we still have a lot of questions, obviously. So I don't know how we'll get these answers. I don't know how you misunderstood that we wanted you to just come and do a slideshow. Because we've had so many concerns and our concerns have been conveyed to you through our attorney. So it's not like this is kind of the first time you're hearing.
Certainly some of them, and we have corresponded, but if you put the questions in writing, we'll get answers for everything you ask.
Who wants to talk about? Go ahead.
No, I've done my share. Paul, you got any more?
I guess just what's the current status of the project as we stand? I mean, seems like your position is you don't have to be here. So if you weren't here, what would you be doing? Like, where are we along this project?
Doing things you wouldn't know about. I don't know. We're here because we have an interest in your concerns, and we want to meet the concerns reasonably, but we also feel that we have to go forward with SED, with the mind's eye towards the expense. And certainly if we were held up for a year or two going through municipal processes that aren't envisioned for school districts, that's another level of expense.
So is it fair to say that you're continuing your studies, like the traffic study and outstanding studies, and then in the application process with SED? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the terms. Is that where the project, I'm trying to get a sense of where the project is right now.
Right. Well, it's at SED. It's in the course of getting approvals as we go along. It's progressing. And what they're asking for may be the same things you're asking about as well.
Okay. So it's kind of a rolling application where you've applied and then they ask for supplemental stuff, or supplemental
Yes.
stuff is outstanding that you are supplying them.
Yes.
Is that package, is that application package available for submission to the town to?
Absolutely. Yes.
I think it would be good. You got more?
I have one.
I had, this might not really impact you, but I want the school board members to hear this, and also the school superintendent. And you, I know we're supposed to ask the questions to you, but it's important that everybody knows, you know, and is for several years I've been fighting the vacant and abandoned homes. There's a crisis in our town. And of course, somebody will make a comment about the town of Kent. Well, guess what? That crisis is over the town borderlines of any township that's in the Carmel School District, as well as Putnam County. We have verified well over 120 homes, okay? There's more, okay? According to ProChamps that we deal with, it's a company, there are 70 pre-foreclosures that are in the hopper now. And I don't want to predict this, but in reading, I think eventually there's going to be another second wave of foreclosures in Putnam County and in my town. And I've been trying to help attempt to resolve this crisis. And we're getting into some things that it will be discussed later tonight. The majority are Lake Carmel, the lake communities, okay? Town of Carmel and the hamlet has some. Parts of Patterson, but the majority, of course, in our town is the largest in the Carmel School District. People are having it rough for a variety of reasons. And that's just one. When we talk about welfare, I think that falls under welfare. As you plan your town budget, your school budget, just like we have to plan our town budget, things are getting rough here. We have some vacant stores. But the town of Carmel and the Hamlet area has more vacant stores than I can count on my toes and my fingers right now, significant. So please keep that into your mind when you're planning your business budget. Again, the professionals are in the office, in the building now. Again, the information on the referendum that went out, that display ad, said all environmental things resolved. I don't think so. And I ask you to look at the water quality. And if not, I will be calling you or whoever's in charge because I'm just concerned because of the blasting and the remnants of what blasting causes in water quality and soil. And, there'll be somebody in the audience who say, hey, Bill, you're full of it. I hope I am full of it. I don't want it to be true. But I think we need to bring this to your attention. And if need be, maybe some of the surrounding homes, their wells got to be tested. And I thought that would be some kind of process that we'd have to do anyway. I don't know. But I think at one point I'm even offered knocking on the doors myself to please get your water tested.
So I took notes on everything that you said, and I took a note about this
Very,
as well.
very important. I don't want the word brownfield discussed here, okay? And I'm hoping, I heard a lot about you, David Shaw. In fact, I thought you were the one I went to high school with, because Carmel always brings back the, I grew up with the Shaws in the Carmel area. And I'm holding you to this because it could really be some serious implications.
Jamie, you had something?
From a financial standpoint, do we still have the money to do the bus garage? Maybe you don't, maybe.
Well, I believe that we do. We have the authority to do bonding, and we have an authorization that's sufficient for the purpose, and there is state aid.
So the money is still there. We still have enough money.
Can you give us an idea? I don't have the last referendum, what the amount in the referendum that was authorized and what the current cost is?
I don't have that right now. Sorry.
I was actually trying to.
At one point in the plans, there was a plans for a ball field there. Is that still in the plans? A baseball field or a soccer field or something?
I'm not certain whether that's a go-ahead plan.
I don't think, and the rec director is hiding someplace. There he is. I don't think he's been approached. I don't think we've been approached. I don't know if they were throwing a carrot at us. I heard that, being a resident living here all my life, I have some good friends that are around the school district that are employees and stuff too. And I thought that seemed like a carrot. And anybody knows now, which has really devastated our rec program, is the school district charges rental fees. So you could build a ball field, but then you're going to charge rent. The way the baseball program and some of the active sports, I think even football is being impacted. I guess more kids are getting into the computer games and stuff, but we were never involved with the ball field, but I guess somebody was throwing a carrot. I'll give them a ball field and we'll, be okay. I don't think so. This is serious in our town, and we're hoping that additional dialogue is coming, and some of the answers that you said you're going to look into.
Can I just ask about the ball field issue? We have the architect, we have the superintendent, we have members of the school board here. Wouldn't they be aware of, maybe you don't know the answer, but wouldn't you be aware of whether the ball field is still on the table?
I do remember at certain points during the planning, we did talk about that, but I don't think that it's had any traction, and it's not a part of the project
I
right
think
now.
they got mad at me and they took it off.
So it's not a part.
I hear it back. You got to soundproof those meeting rooms.
Yeah, well, my recollection was that we put it in to see if it would fit in the space that when we were designing the parking lot, not that it was going to be a part of the project. I could be wrong, but that's my recollection of what the ball field was.
I'm looking forward to your traffic study because it's very dangerous there.
I
I
wish-
parked my car. I've seen the engineer in there in the property because I'm all over my town. And I'm seeing school buses going up 52. And if there's 50 school buses, I'm taking a shot, and they're going to come in and out of there every day. It's going to be interesting. And if any type of development that'll help our taxicals that are alongside of that bus garage, it's going to be one big traffic problem. Maybe I won't ever see it, but there is going to be a problem.
It's being done, and it will comply with all the DOT regulations, or we won't get a permit issued. So it will.
Well, just so you know, that's one of the issues that we're very concerned about, and some of our kids, grandchildren and stuff ride those buses. So.
Would you be willing to take questions from members of the public if they have any questions?
If you have the time and we have the knowledge, we'll try.
We're here all night. Would anybody from the audience? We do this after every agenda item. It's kind of part of our process. Anybody have any questions?
I think we should, there was a lot more that we wanted to talk about. If we could send you a list of more questions that we have. They're more detailed in the general questions that I think we asked a lot of general questions tonight, but a lot more specific detail. If we could get some answers that way. I don't know if you'd want to come back and address them with us or however you want to do it, but I think it's very important. Now is the first time that we are addressing you with questions that we're getting from our constituents. And they may seem a little hard because they're hard to us and we don't know how to answer them. You know what I mean? And it's a little frustrating sometimes when we don't have the answers to give to them too. So I think it was a good dialogue tonight. Again, I thank you, the board, superintendent, everybody for coming out. I've learned a lot about it tonight without even seeing your presentation yet. I think I have a better idea of where you're at on the project right now.
Yeah, I think that once, I mean, we've asked a lot of questions and a lot of them have not been answered. And I think that our residents certainly will be interested in the answers. So perhaps we'll, distill them into a letter kind of summarizing a lot of the things that we've asked tonight, maybe things that we will come up with. And perhaps we can do this again and have like a more productive dialogue in that we'll have the answers and we'll know where to go from there. But we do appreciate you coming this evening. And, if this is the start of the process, I think, we can be off to a good start.
Just briefly, I'll echo that. And thank you for coming. Just my concern is there's a lot, it seems like a lot of stuff is, I assume the education department is up in Albany. And so there was a comment that, well, if it meets DOT's standards, then we'll do whatever they say. And maybe I'm unique, but I'm very skeptical of Albany and their competence sometimes. And the local planning board, zoning board, whether you like them or not, they're the stakeholders here. So we see a hill and a traffic issue, and it means a lot more to us than a bureaucrat up in Albany. And, if you look at, not to get political, if you look at the budget process, which is now, 7 days overdue up there, it's not like everything that comes out of Albany is like, oh yeah, everything's been done super and great. And everything's gonna be, when we see these things go up to Albany, that's more of a cause of concern because there's no stakeholder, and I hate that term stakeholder, there's no stakeholder up there actually caring what, the downslope of Route 52, it's a checkbox, it's a sheet. And so I appreciate pulling back the curtains of the process a little bit, but I would hope that the stakeholders here are more involved in some of the negotiations, which was put as to whether traffic lights need to be there. I mean, I think that's where keeping it local makes a lot more sense than having the guys that can't put a budget together figure it out. We always make our budget on time.
We
So.
always do.
I'd like you to know that the people at the state ed department we deal with, there are attorneys, there are highly educated, very intelligent people who are committed and dedicated. And one of the things they said to us was go meet with them. We want to hear how it's going with them and we'll let them know.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And we'll be in
Thank
touch.
you. Thanks to all of you. Have a good rest of the meeting.
You too.
And good night.
Good night.
Take 30 seconds.
Yeah, let's take a
Yeah.
time out.
Oh, I just got it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to get back to the meeting. Okay. Oh, okay. That's right. Okay, before we get on to items that we are going to vote, can we have roll call, please?
Supervisor Fleming,
Present.
Councilwoman McLaughlin. Present. Councilman Denbow,
Present.
Councilman Eustace,
Here.
Councilman Boothby,
Here.
all present.
Thank you very much. We're going to move a couple items around tonight. So we're going to put off item C for a moment and go to item G, accounting budget transfers. And I would like to invite our Director of Finance, Julia Kelly, up to the microphone to go through this. Good evening.
I just have the standard year-end budget transfer requests for various department, various lines. There's really nothing that stands out significantly. There were a few one-time type expenses that just need to be covered by money being moved from other lines. Overall, the budget was actually underspent. As soon as the pandemic hit, we cut back on expenses and the town did quite well as far as that goes. So there's really no significant overall increase to the budget. Most of the movement is from one line to another. Highway fund actually did really well because there was not much snow in 2020. However, a lot of that money probably got used up in early 2021. So unless anybody has any specific questions, there was one large purchase, it was a truck purchase for the sanitation district, like Carmel Sanitation. So that was the only big amount that's going to be covered with fund balance usage because it was not budgeted for. Unless anybody has any specific questions on the list or the budget transfers.
Just keep up doing the great work you do.
Yeah, thank you. And our audit is next week.
Uh-oh.
Next week.
Anybody have any questions?
Who did you pay off to get in front of Jared?
That's what I was thinking.
Everybody always gets in front of Jared.
I was thinking poor Jared dropped way down the ladder tonight.
Yeah. Julia has kids she has to get home to, and
put
Jared
Jared
has
behind
18
9.
items on the agenda tonight, so. All right, anybody have any questions? Comments? Okay,
Let's just find it.
Let me do this.
yeah,
Oh,
I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution to approve budget transfers fiscal year 2020, whereas the Director of Finance has recommended certain budgetary amendments to the 2020 budget in order to adjust appropriations in the Finance Department, the Highway Department, the Lake Carmel Fire District, and the Lake Carmel Park District, and the Lake Carmel Sanitation Department as set forth in the summary annex here to and incorporated herein by reference. And whereas the Director of Finance advises the proposed transfers will have the fiscal impact as outlined on the annex summary, and the town board wishes to accept the recommendations of the finance director. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the recommendations of the Director of Finance and authorizes the budget transfers as set forth in annex summary. I make this motion.
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have my new bifocals back where I can read again.
Not borrowing glasses anymore. Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. I invite Jared Kaczynski, our Director of Parks and Recreation. And start anywhere you like to.
All right, I'm going to start with the Eustis Park Development Plan. No way I'm gonna be able to reach the laptop without undoing the microphone from the floor. So any objections from that? No. There we go. Excellent. All right, so first of all, good evening, everyone. My name is Jared. I'm the Director of Recreation and Parks for the town of Kent, which I think everyone who is still here knows, but thank you all for coming out, and I'd like to thank the board for having me. I'm really, really excited tonight to get to speak about this potential plan for Eustis Park. And it's been, several months in the making, going back and forth with, various professionals, board members, my staff. And I'm really thrilled with what we've all come up with. And I hope you guys will be as well. So first and foremost, for those of you who don't know, Ryan's Park is obviously the park that everyone is most familiar with, off Towners Road. However, we also run Ryan's Park, which is off Farmers Mills. It's about 4 miles from the schools, a mile from 301 if you're out that way. And it's a really cool area. It's woodsy. It's got a really nice air to it. But currently, I think most of us would agree that it needs a considerable amount of TLC. And so the way this whole project came to fruition, actually, it's kind of interesting. COVID allowed us to start creating a whole bunch of hiking trails, which I know some of you have checked out, gone on hikes, and enjoyed. And a number of those trails are at Ryan's Park. And so we also started a hiking club, and we had our very first hike for the club. Maureen, you were there that day. We did it out at Ryan's Park. And to access the trail, we had to go past the playground, which you see in the lower left-hand corner of that circle. And I actually, I'm going to say it. We walked past the playground, and I was actually embarrassed. Here I was telling everyone I'm the new director of Recreation and Parks, as I had just been approved. And I was embarrassed by the playground that was there. And I said to myself, like, you're director now, you shouldn't feel that way. You're the one who has to make the difference. So I came to the board and I said, we need a new playground out there. There's some, some companies have some discount programs going on. And the board said, we totally agree with you, definitely need it. And I remember Councilman Ruthven had said this specifically, we want to know your plan for the park, more than just putting in a new playground. Like, what do you see as the vision for the future? And, it was actually a great question. So I went back and I started thinking, about different things we could do. And I started coming up with more and more ideas. Nikki, my coworker who's over there, we batted a lot around. And I finally went back to Maureen and I said, Maureen, I have a lot of ideas, but it's going to be, this is a big plan I want to do. Rearranging certain things in the park. It will cost a decent amount of money, so on and so forth. And Maureen said, you know what, go for it. We want to know what you want to do. Give us your dream team of amenities out there, and we'll go from there. And so the presentation I'm going to give you now is just that. So before we do, though, I just want to show you why I felt embarrassed by the playground and why I think it needs to be replaced. And I think, I'm sorry. I think the answers are pretty straightforward. This is the playground right there. There's not a whole lot to it. Old swing sets, old rockers, and what looks to be about a preschool aged platform with a small slide. Significant amounts of rust. I know it's hard to see with the contrast. Dated rockers. And like I said, this is not much to it. Those slides probably can't be more than 3 feet off the ground, which for a 2-year-old is fine. Doesn't really benefit anyone else. And so that is why I wanted to replace it. Oh, and all the wood is rotted around it as well, which, is what it is. So when it comes to recreation and parks, I know I have a time limit, Lana. I'm trying to keep up with it. So when it comes to recreation and parks, and Chris and Bill, could definitely testify to this. You're always asking yourself as a professional, what can we do to continue to keep people engaged and how to get new people engaged? And from a program standpoint, it's simple. You're adding more programs, you're doing different programs, that's fine. But with respect to parks, what you want to be continuing to do is improve the amenities you have and adding new amenities that will get different groups of people out who might not otherwise be served by what you currently offer. And so once again, going back to it, we have Ryan's Park, which we're tapped out at. We're literally every day of the week. Jamie, you know this very well. Every day of the week, Paul, we have something going on. We have all different types of amenities there, but we have nowhere else we can go. We cannot build anymore. We even program-wise, Nikki knows, scheduling all our new programs this year was a nightmare trying to do the logistics just to figure out how we could get people in and out for parking issues, et cetera. So we're tapped out at Ryan's Field. So the question I then asked myself is, what can we do to improve our amenities? And Ryan's Park is the answer to that question because it is currently lacking in amenities. The amenities we do have are not in good shape. and it needs to be improved upon. And it is the only logical way we can achieve the goal of offering our community more with respect to parkland, because as I said, Ryan's Park is tapped out. Now, I'm not going to read everything from this list, but those of you who have gone out there have known we have sinkhole issues on the basketball court. We have sinkhole issues on the main playing field. We have a volleyball court that was removed. I remember, Bill, you and I discussed this because no one was playing on it. And as a result, there were weeds everywhere, and it was like a giant litter box for animals. We have the playground, which I already told you is stripped down. And then just this is not the glamorous stuff, but we don't have enough parking when we do run major events out there, particularly men's softball tournaments. And all of the fencing now is 30 plus years old, and which you'll see in these photos coming up is in need of total replacement. So there's the basketball court. It's tough to tell in this picture just how big that puddle is, but that puddle is 5 days after the last time it rained, and it was still there. And as you can see here, those red circles actually show where the pavement is starting to dip down and just how much there's cracking there. And anytime you get pavement and cracking, it's reflective of what's happening underneath it. And what you see, the orange in the middle is where the deepest part of the hole is. We didn't use a laser level, but we estimate it's that hole, which goes from the red circles and slopes down to the orange circles. It's about 8 to 10 inches below the rest of the basketball court. And that's a sizable area. Obviously, it's tough to tell, but if you look at those fence posts, each fence post is 10 feet apart. I mean, it's a little skewed, but you're looking at 20 feet of basketball court that is really no longer in playable condition. And then with respect to the fencing, this is literally the theme around the whole park, which, like I said, I'm director of recreation and parks, and, I need to address this, which is what I'm doing tonight. So we talked about why we need to do something out at Eustis Park, but then the question becomes what? What are we going to do? And this is what I'm most excited for. Well, not really this part. This is not super exciting, but we need to remove all the chain link around the entire park and replace it. I just showed you those photos, so I think we'd all agree it's a no-brainer. Fortunately, we met with Joe Duke from Duke Fence, who has always been a huge supporter of us, and gladly came out to give us some numbers. And we believe that we can reduce the total linear footage of the fencing to keep costs down. But we would also at the same time be able to improve safety for spectators and in the bench area for the young athletes and old athletes. And the playable area will be improved as well. And then, like I said, unnecessary fencing would be cut down to save on costs, because there is a little bit of fencing out there for those who go out there. We have fencing in some places that extends about 200 feet when it really doesn't need to extend beyond maybe 150 or 120 in certain areas. So Joe quoted us at roughly $35,000. And I will total this all up at the end, so you don't need to remember these numbers. Phase one, so I've broken the phases down into 2 phases, and then within that, phase 1 is broken down into multiple A, B, C, D. So this is one that I'm super excited for, and it's obviously the removal of the old playground. Once again, we all agree it needs to be done, and the installation of a new and modern playground. But that's not really the catch here. What's really the most important part about this is moving the playground to a different location in the park. And so the reason that needs to be done is because I've now worked here for 10 years, and the biggest complaint about the playground at Eustis Park is its location. And just to put it in perspective, the park is out in Western Kent. It's obviously a less populated portion of town, and particularly where Eustis Park is pretty remote since it's entirely surrounded by DEP land. So you have a park that's in a pretty remote area. Okay, that's fine. Then you have a park roadway that's 1/4 mile long just to get to the parking lot. So now not only are you in a remote area, but you're now 1/4 mile off the main road. And then you have about another 40 feet of woods you have to walk through to get to the playground, as well as a roughly 12-foot hill, 12 to 15 feet in there. And so the playground is now obstructed from the parking lot and most of the rest of the park, which for a lot of people is certainly, it's an uncomfortable setting for some people. So our plan would be to move the playground from that upper platform where it is, which I'll show in a graphic to help make it a little easier. Our plan would be to move the playground from the blue area to the middle red area, which I've labeled section 2. Now, the specifics of that would be dependent on a few other things, including soil factors, which we'd have to have testing done and whatever else. However, We would keep it away from where all the sinkholes are, et cetera, which is directly related to undermining that happens because we're on the edge of the swamp. And we'd keep it more towards that little dirt roadway you can see in there, which is just used for maintenance vehicles. We would like to be in the neighborhood, and Maureen, you and I worked very closely on this, of around $50,000 with installation, which actually gets us a very, very nice playground installed. This is a quote we got from Game Time. And as you can see here, we have in the foreground a 5 to 12-year-old play unit, which the current playground does not have. In the middle, we have what do they call it? About toddlers to, 3 to 5. Thank you, Chris. And in the back, we even have a swing set as well. And what's cool about having the 3 separate units is, depending on how we decide to put this in the ground, is the orientation can be changed to suit how we want to set up the space for the new playground. We also got a quote from Compin, who's also been great to work with. Ignore the color scheme. That was just some different ideas they sent me. And I know the photo's a little zoomed out, but it's the same concept. We have a smaller unit for the younger children. We have a larger unit with larger slides for the older kids. And then obviously we could put in swings or whatever else somewhere in the middle. Same thing, that was about 50,000. So phase 1C, this is the one I'm most excited about. And I've been, Jamie and I, we've been talking about this a lot. She has kids in sports and everything. This is the installation of a multi-use sports facility, which is often referred to as a MUGA. MUGA stands for multi-use games area. And basically what this is it's a large fenced in space with a sport court on the bottom and multiple amenities within the court that allow multiple sports to be played. It's hard for me to articulate, but the photos I show will make it clear. And this is something that would be very unique to the area, but also is really necessary for Eustis Park. And the reason for that is that Eustis Park cannot be expanded upon. The land around it is either swamp or it's rocky, hilly, messy area. So we can't add a whole lot more to the park. So we're never going to have a tennis court and a basketball court and a volleyball court and floor hockey. We can't, it's not like we're going to have all these different amenities. So the only thing we can do is create something that allows us to combine all of them into one. And as a result, will give us multiple new opportunities to get children, get adults involved out at Eustis Park and in potentially new activities they can't currently participate in with the limited amenities. So this is one of the more expensive parts of the project. And with, depending on the court, the surfacing you use could range anywhere from 100 to 150,000. And those quotes are courtesy of Compin and Sports Court. But I think you guys will be pretty psyched with what you see. So first, the sport court would go up top where the playground is. That's a level platform. It's the best soil we have probably in the entire park. We have not had sinkhole issues up there, so it'd be a prime candidate for it. And what you end up with is something like this. This doesn't have the surfacing. I'll show you that in a second, but it's an enclosed area with a special fencing. I was talking to Councilman Ruthven before, and we were talking about how you put up fence and you're playing ball sports. Jamie, you see at the baseball fields, every piece of chain link fence will be warped within a few years. So here what you have is those blue panels are HDPE, and on top you have a very solid steel fencing. And what's really cool about this is all those sports amenities are built into the facility. So you'll actually see we have 4 small soccer nets, 2 large soccer nets, 2 large basketball hoop. The ones on the side, although it doesn't show it in the photo, would be 8-foot hoops for younger kids, which you will not find really anywhere around, even though no child below the age of 8 should really be playing on a 10-foot hoop, yet that's all that's ever offered. So that would be something cool. And then in the middle, you have a volleyball / pickleball / tennis court net to kind of round it out.
Where's the door?
So that is actually not shown on this, but basically there'd be a hinge on part of the HDPE that can be open and shut.
You can't lock the kids in there.
You can't, I'm sorry, Chris, you can't lock them in. I'm sorry about that. But so that's what the court surface would actually look like. And this is from Sport Court, actually. So you basically have different colors, different lines that basically, show you your boundaries for different sports. So, hey, we're playing basketball today. We're on the red. Oh, it's tennis. We're on the blue. 3-point line is yellow. And it gives you all these different opportunities to configure dozens of different games that you could do. You'll even see them where off to the side, they'll have a hopscotch built in, a pattern on there. You'll have Foursquare. So there's lots of cool stuff that you can do with this. And just another picture for you all to see is this one here. This is a real life example. I'm not sure where this is, but it's clearly at some kind of a municipal setting, it looks like. And you can see all the different options that there are for activities. Now combine that with the fencing that I showed you beforehand, and you have what ends up being a really cool multi-use facility, which literally everyone could take advantage of. And I will get to that later in my presentation. Lana, how am I doing on time? Okay. I'm over. Oh man, I'm sorry.
Surprise, surprise.
All right, I'll try to keep moving along quickly then. So phase 1D, this is the least exciting. We need more parking at the park. So we need more
You don't have to
parking.
Explain this into.
It needs to be done because we're always parked on the roadway when we have multiple games. Phase 2, which this is a down the road thing, but so, Bill and I, we've talked a lot about this where, he's very interested in bathrooms at the park, a pavilion at the park, and I agree. But I believe right now that the use of the park does not warrant that expense. However, if we have a draw to the park, like the multi-use facility, like a new playground, if we have that draw, we're bringing people in, we're running more programs, we're also bringing in revenue, et cetera, that will then make this expense and this part of the project something that's feasible. So I wanted to make sure I included that there, and something I thought would actually look and function perfect for what we want at Eustis Park would be something like this. This is made by a company called Romtech, and it's basically, I believe, a 6 or 8 table pavilion with 2 bathrooms, 1 bathroom on each side and a machine room in the middle to cover all the mechanical stuff. I don't know anything about that, but it is expensive. Obviously, the construction materials used would certainly impact the pricing. Lumber is like at an all-time high from what I've been told. So, but this once again would be a down the road part of the plan. Once we establish Eustis Park, get it back to what it used to be, then we could say, okay, now it's time for bathrooms. Now it's time for a little pavilion. And I think it's something that is important we included in this plan so we keep it in mind for the future.
I got one question about that before you keep going fast.
Okay.
I can keep up with you.
Sorry,
Did
I go back?
On the picture here, you have the leach fields up by the multiplayer.
Yes. So so Insight Engineering basically did, sorry. So I worked a little bit. So Insight Engineering years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, Bill, probably 10 years ago now. Yeah, they did, they came out and they did a study with respect to putting in leach fields, and basically on the screen, it would be that kind of tail end of where the court is.
But that's a higher elevation. It's a pump up system.
Yeah, which actually spoke with John Watson, and he said that he actually felt that would be a very good system for this area. I can't lie, I didn't understand everything he told me, but he felt that it would be very beneficial. And then once again, depending on the layout of the extra parking, the playground, where we put the bathroom area, especially if it's in section 1, the
Anything off that
pumping
will be a pump up system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah. So, sorry, where did I leave off?
You were at the end.
I was at the end. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. Bathrooms, pavilion. All right. All that good stuff. So this one I'm going to breeze through. But the question then you ask yourself when you have a pension, you say, I covered the why, I covered the what, but who will this benefit? Is it really going to benefit the majority of the population? And in my opinion, the answer is yes. I think that the presentation I just gave pretty clearly shows you how all these different amenities can be taken advantage of by different sections of the population. And when it comes to the little kids, it's clearly straightforward. We need a better playground out there. We have an awesome Muga play area, but that also applies to the adults and the seniors as well. If I'm a parent and I'm out there and I know, oh, hey, here's a new playground, a modern playground, there's a fence around it, I don't have to worry about my kids as much as I do when it was up where it is. That's a plus. But also, I talked to Chris Platania, who's our men's basketball coordinator, and I was telling him about this potential project. He said 100% we would be able to get a league going out there, no doubt about it. So, you know, there's interest in a variety of groups. Nikki, you know, we get contacted fairly regularly about pickleball because we have pickleball lines. You were there that day, Maureen. Pickleball lines out at Ryan's Park. But how cool would it be if we could do Sunday mornings, it's pickleball, and we could have a senior program going, because that's a very popular sport amongst the seniors. There's just so many potential there's so many opportunities for giving our community new, exciting things to do. And, you know, I also have special needs population as well, but there's so many opportunities. And I feel that with respect to Eustis Park, it's the best thing for us to do for that park. I'm on slide 27 of 29. Lastly, how will we accomplish this? I think no matter what, we need to have an engineer who could do a concept and feasibility plan. I studied philosophy in college. Some of you know that. And it was Socrates who said that you are most wise when you know that you do not know much. And I will be the first to tell you, I think, Paul, you said this earlier. I don't know enough about soil content or the wetlands that are on the property, all of which are protected, no matter what, if they're on your property or not, they're still protected. So having an engineer who can come in, who can say, okay, this is going to be best oriented here. This is going to be best situated there. Oh, here's a wetland. We need to make sure we're not 100 feet from that. I think that is the first thing we have to do. It's the step that says, hey, we're serious about this project, that says to our residents, and especially the residents of Western Kent, we want to make improvements to our park system, and we want to do it right. You know, we're not just going to do this to make you guys happy, whatever else. We're going to plan it, and we're going to make sure that this has long-term feasibility. So I think we have to do that. And then after that, I was actually told by our grant person, I'm trying to rush through this very quickly, that he thinks we would be very, very competitive in getting a sizable grant from the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historical Preservation. It would require a 50% match from the town. But fortunately, our smart board has set aside earmarked funds for Eustis Park, and we have a nice lieu of land fund as well, which could certainly go a long way to matching that. And I believe knocking this program out of the park, pun totally intended. And I think that's my last slide. So I thank you all. And I would like to say one thing before I'm done, is that, you know, along with my staff, and I'd like to give Nikki, John, Chris Kehoe, all the guys at the park a shout out. We've really been committing to making sure rec is getting into the 21st century. And I'm not here today making this presentation because the board asked for a plan. I mean, that's part of it, of course, but I'm here because I actually believe that this is a really good way to continue to get our community engaged and bring a park that's really in need of some love back to life. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. And thank you guys for letting me speak. And I'm sorry it was longer than 20 minutes, Lana. So
I know Bill wants to speak. I know others do. First thing, you know, that commenting on the specifics looks good. I don't think that the bathrooms should be a phase 2. I think it should be all up front. You can't advertise for senior citizens and children with special needs and have them using porta potties. It's just not something that goes hand in hand. You can trust me. It's not something that goes hand in hand. And so we have been talking, this board, in 3 of us, and for 8 years, about Eustis Park. We have set aside funds for it. We have an ample fund balance, which every year the finance director and audit come up and I say, are we holding too much money in fund balance? And they always tell me we're holding like way too much money in fund balance. So I feel like, and this is not directed at you as much, but if the town decides to move forward with the park, whatever the concept should be, I don't think we should really push out phase 2 very much. And I don't think we should wait for a magical grant that may or may not arise. I think we should say, hey, we have money in the fund. We have an infrastructure project that's needed, as you pointed out, and we either go forward with it or not. And so I'll let others talk about the particulars of it, but I think it's important to have bathrooms in pavilion, and I think it's important to get this thing moving sooner than later. And that may come with costs, but the money's just sitting in an account, not doing anything. It's taxpayer money. And so I know it's not your decision, but I'm saying, hey, you're going to put all these amenities up there. You're going to expand parking and do all this stuff, and you're going to have grandma use the porta potty. I mean, seems like I'm not saying you drop it all at once, but I don't think you need to separate it out very much. Like, oh, we need to see population increase before we put a bathroom. I mean, let's put a bathroom, man. No offense.
Yeah, no, none taken. And I appreciate the feedback. And I definitely think, Paul, those are some really good points. And I think that would be obviously, decision, like you said, we all come to together. But I totally get what you're saying. And I had actually thought about, and I haven't looked into them fully, but they actually rent, like, it's weird, but like nice porta potties that are spacious and have running water.
There's no
And
such.
I know, it's weird to say, but I don't know. You guys know, you run events, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Exactly what
Yeah.
you're talking about. The executive porta potties. They got
Executive
lights in
porta
them,
potties,
music
yeah.
playing, the whole
You
works.
can get
Oh,
them
yeah,
at
they have
weddings.
water, running
Running
water.
water.
You
Yeah.
get them at weddings. If you have like an outdoor
But,
wedding, it's like a
let
trailer.
me continue on. I
Yeah.
100% agree with Paul. I think through our engineering thing we put out, don't we have we have immediate access without going to bid for somebody, a designer for this.
Oh, we do? Okay.
We do.
Okay.
We put a blanket bid out for that. You could have this thing drawn up, ready to go, and we should still apply for grants, but we should be willing to go 100% full board, whole thing, done deal. Wash your hands, walk out, shut the gate behind you.
Actually
Yeah.
wash your hands because
Yeah.
it's a bathroom.
And I think that the point, I think that
Sorry.
everybody's point kind of is, if we're going to do something like this, we don't want to, kick it down the hill and say, well, and maybe next year we'll start thinking about getting the engineer, and in 2 years, and it's like, why wait for like.
Yeah, well, you're
years?
not going to hear any argument from
Yeah.
me. So if you guys are on board with that, I'm certainly not going to
No,
say.
I think we've made,
say no.
we've made some improvements at Ryan's. I think that, we've all said for years that Eustis Park is the redheaded stepchild, if you excuse me.
Yeah, it's kind of been forgotten.
And
It's
it-
true.
No, but it needs to be treated as a town park and, really upgraded. And I think to make that a usable park, I love the multi-use field. I think that's fantastic. Unfortunately, Jared had a field trip to Ossining to see
And 2
one
feet of
that's being
snow.
built, and there was like 2 feet of snow. So you couldn't really get the idea of the surfacing.
Well, but that's a good point, though, is you just said I made a field trip to Ossining. So that's the closest place that there was one. It would be much smaller than what I would like to do. And it's really the only other one around. So this would actually be very state of the art for the county for sure, but really our area on a whole, which is, it's cool. It's great for us. It puts us on the map. And yet other ways, we're starting this new special needs program, which I think is going to be fantastic. We've really improved our bike track at the park. We're trying to not only cater to the traditional sports and everything else, but get new things in that really make Kent Rec and Kent state of the art,
Yeah, I think it's really innovative.
Yeah, very exciting.
I agree. I'm excited. So Bill, you're up.
I don't want to bust your bubble.
You can't. I'm feeling great tonight. There's no busting of the bubble.
You have done this plan, and I commend you for this, the efforts to do this. At one point, we had the commissioner of Parks and Rec that was going to come down to this facility because we were planning some support for grants, and he lived in Pauling, by the way, but he's no longer the commissioner. And then we had Bernadette Castro, who we all know with the convertibles. She was the commissioner at one point, and got to know her. But anyway, a couple of points. I know I'm in the minority, hearing everybody here and how you've really done your political work, reaching out to the council people and the supervisor. The hill obstruction, I still feel part of that hill should be removed, 50%, 75%. At one point, we had the Teamsters, I believe, training program was being considered, but that would have reduced the cost. And the reason being, it would open up that whole entire area amenity. The soil is poor, there's rock, boulders.
Lots of boulders.
We got an estimate from a local guy who's notorious for moving rock. So I'd be, that's one thing I throw it out. I'm concerned about the playground switching to the basketball court because that area is the corridor for the adults. going back and forth to the ball fields. It's also, some of us could hit the softball into your playground that you have planned. Okay, I know I can do it. I've done it. The basket one was the basketball court. As far as the sea poles, they started happening, I guess, 5 years, 6 years ago or something. We started getting sea poles in the ball fields, and that was because of the sloppy job that was done because they did not compact the dirt. They did not do proper drainage. I was not involved in the planning of the actual contractor. In fact, I think we ended up with 2 different contractors, 2 different engineers, and later a lawsuit. But bathrooms, I think, are needed to run other programs, be it for young kids or elderly. I'd love to see a picnic pavilion there. Our seniors right now do not have a home in our town, and we're working on that. I think there's a liability in the corridor. If you have your playground where you want it, you're going to have, and you're going to move it up to the one side, you're going to have families congregating, and you're going to have the adults going back and forth. And just a little bit of history is the adults were removed out of Ryan's Park because of some issues with Michael O'Rourke and Mr. Keogh, who was on our commission, and we gave, mostly to kids, and moved the adults out to for that field, and sometimes Little League used it, and that's years ago. But I think there's a liability concern, and I'm sure you'll address it. I'm just.
Bill, I think the engineer will address some of these concerns. That's why we want to hire someone.
Yeah, okay.
They're going to be able to measure out distances and plan, and they may have to rearrange it. You got to be acceptable to the fact that they're whatever they design and do.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, I believe,
and
they'll
one other
ultimately
thing,
know what's
and I
best.
don't know, I'm really happy you went down, and I don't know the person in Ossining anymore, but to visit different things. I hope you get involved in your professional societies, because that's how you learn and grow. I still think someday I'm going to lose you to the town of Carmel. I've called it here, but the other thing is the Nrpa standards. Although we have a county park in our town, we have state parks in our town. There's a standard as far as X amount of parkland for the population. And when you look at it, as far as usable property, it's interesting is, we could use a few more acres of land, and I'm working on that. And if it happens, I don't think it's going to cost us any money. So, but we'll hold that for now. One thing I did learn that I got to say, because I started to slip, I was going to slip you a note. In the school district, Kathy, listen to this one. Over the years, the school has started charging fees, and it really broke the bank here in the town for the gyms. I know everything has been reduced as far as practice time and stuff. And I got a guy come over to me tonight and said, just learn Patterson uses the school fields free as long as they maintain it themselves. So I don't know if we save a buck or two, but I know we used to maintain some fields and still end up paying because you need to lime the field or whatever. But I didn't know if you knew that, but I get a tip once in a while. But I commend you for what you're doing. My head's spinning right about now.
Sorry about that.
I remember the old days with helping doing with the kids and stuff. And but I hope you take into consideration those 3 things. An engineer can only say much. It's who's running the show and coordinating it. And I look forward to the process as long as I'm still here.
Yeah, I look forward to it as well. And I'll just briefly touch on a few of the things. With respect to the balls hitting the court, because I know that was raised by basically everyone on the board. I've played softball in Kent now for 12 years, 2 seasons a year. And I have never seen a ball roll to the basketball court, let alone land on it. And I believe that part of that is due to the fact that bats now are deader than they used to be. Back in the day, it was kind of Wild West with equipment that was used. We have very, strict standards in place, as do most leagues actually now. So bats can be made of different materials, and Kent Recreation Leagues only allow them to be made out of aluminum. And furthermore, we don't allow them to be made out of anything more than double wall aluminum. So that reduces the, the how hot the bat comes off the bat and how far it can travel. And then we also use a deader ball. So back in the day, especially, they used balls that were called the super blue dot, gold dot, and these balls came off the bat. I mean, I'm surprised people didn't get killed. And fortunately, the Society of Softball Players on a whole realized that that's really dangerous, and we don't use those as much anymore. And I do believe that that is why we haven't seen a ball ever land there. So I actually feel incredibly confident with my recommendation of putting it there. And I've spoken to over a dozen people who play softball, some who play very high level, and I said, just tell me straight up, do you think you could put a ball onto that basketball court? And they all said no. And then also, just to further that, it would be from a left-handed batter, which probably only represents about 1/5 of the softball playing population. And then furthermore, what most people don't realize about, so I'm a baseball nerd. So what most people don't realize about a swing is, if you ever look at a Major League Baseball stadium, center field is the deepest. So it's not like they just make an arc where it's 350 feet all around. In center field, it pops out to 420 feet. And the reason for that is you have the most power when you hit a ball in the middle of your swing, which is why when it goes to center field, it can travel the furthest. This playground would literally be right down the line, which is generally where you have lesser power. You have lesser power at the beginning of your swing and then the end of your swing. So a right-handed batter, there's basically no possible way they're hitting the ball 375 feet onto the basketball court. And a left-handed batter, once again, even though they're going to pop some nice home runs out there, to think that it'll be a 400-foot home run, especially given the equipment we use now, is the unlikeliness of it is, I mean, it is so unlikely.
I made my point.
Okay, no, I know. I just wanted to make sure I shared it. Yeah.
You're gonna have young families, parents with their tiny tots in that area of the playground and parts of right field. You do what you want. I just bring it up.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not here to argue. I'm moving on.
Okay. All right. Was there anything else you had wanted me to address before we bring it to a close? Or Chris says no. That's my cue. All right. I guess that's that then. Oh, I have other things I need to talk about.
Yeah, you have other
Yes,
things.
I do.
Yeah, I
Um,
think,
Isn't
I
his
mean,
time up?
yeah.
I'm sorry, Lana.
I
I'm
thought
sorry.
Lana had a little timer, but
You have to be more aggressive, Lana.
yeah, you gotta kind of race through the rest. But I think this is a really interesting concept. Obviously, this is kind of the first time where we're all seeing it. And, there has to be more conversation. There has to be engineering, but
So I guess then that just begs the question quickly. Is everyone here good with me starting to reach out to some engineering firms and say, hey, we want to do a conceptual feasibility plan? Can you give us a quote?
We have the firm.
Oh, we have a firm.
We did a blanket engineering.
yeah,
For every, okay.
They put site engineering and I think, didn't you tell me there was park?
Got it. Okay. I did not realize that was on there. Excellent.
yeah. So
Okay.
just take a look through.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a
Excellent.
list you can choose from.
Yeah.
Ooh, choices.
They've already bid. Their prices are locked in.
Got it. Okay. Excellent. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So I'll start to explore that certainly, and I'll be back.
Great.
Yeah, I bet you
We
will.
can't wait.
I can't wait. I'm here every week
But
now. It's
not
fun.
this long.
I've been here for Chris's reading glasses saga. I've seen it all, it's been great. Okay, so then I'll move on to item number 2, which is the hiring of 2 additional park maintenance helpers. And I would like to recommend, I'm gonna put the mic back on the stand now. I'd like to recommend that we hire Justin Rebus, who's a former Kent Rec participant, and as well as Emerson Appleyard, who's also a former Kent Rec participant and is doing a Boy Scout project at the park.
This is not additional. This is your summer staff that.
No, additionally, because I had 2 approved at the last board meeting.
Okay, but
So additionally,
how
I'd
many
like
did
2
you have
more.
last year?
4.
Okay, same number, right?
Yeah, we
yeah.
just approved 2 already.
Yes. So I'd like to request that they be approved. I, sent over salary recommendations, and having had these children in our programs, I can just say once again, I'm thrilled that they want to continue to stay in Kent. And I think that is us doing what we're supposed to be doing. So that was item number 1.
Why don't you let him make all his quick recommendations, then we can just read through them.
Okay.
There you go. Okay.
Good.
And then I would like to recommend that this year, instead of hiring Start Smart Start Smart assistants and scorekeepers, that we just instead hire general program aides. They do it over in Patterson. It works very well. It gives you flexibility with how you want to use them for different programs. And so I would like to recommend that we hire the following people, and I'm doing this all from memory because I actually forgot to bring my list. Nope, I know it.
Here's my resolution.
I think I got
All
it.
right, go.
It's Adriana DeSalvo, Joe DiPiero, Vincent Haran, Michael Pinna, Brian Merchant,
One more.
and Shane Rivera Ruane. Yes, sorry, Shane. I know Shane's watching. I'm sorry I forgot you, bud. So
You're
I
going to
would-
hear about it next Can't Rec Live.
Yes, exactly. I would like to recommend that they all be hired as programs aides. They have all either played Kent Rec or have been volunteers or employees for years now. They are awesome assets to our program. And once again, here's kids who played in our programs who are saying, hey, we want to come and work for you. And they're excited to do it. So that's, I think, everything we want.
Good.
So I would ask that you guys approve them. And was there a fourth item?
There's one other thing I want to ask.
Okay, what?
How are we doing on volunteers? I know how we're doing, but I'm asking.
Don't get me started. Chris, you want to coach a minor baseball team?
No. John Fenty? Yeah, do this.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Volunteers, I know Jamie wants me to do a little PSA. Remember, Kent Recreation, I'm trying to look at the camera, loves volunteers, and we appreciate all the time you give us. So if you're interested in helping, please let me or Nikki or John know, right, Nikki? We would love to have enough coaches to run our programs with these. So, and then
And
last,
it is a rewarding experience.
it is a rewarding experience. I agree. Absolutely. Yeah. Paul, soccer season?
No, my daughter plays Gaelic football now. So
Oh, nice. I've heard good things. Cool. All right. My
You can
last
do
thing,
both.
Don't make him talk longer.
the last thing I would like to request of the board is I would like to say congratulations to Rec Assistant Nikki Santos, who will soon be having her second child. We wish you the best. She'll be leaving me once again, though, so therefore I would like to recommend that we, upon her leaving for maternity leave, that we promote temporarily John Fenty, who's our part-time recreation assistant, to full-time recreation assistant, keeping the same salary, and that we rehire Christopher Heller, who the last time we had this come up, we hired Chris temporarily as our part-time rec assistant. He did a tremendous job, so I'd like to recommend that we rehire Chris Heller as a part-time recreation assistant at a pay rate of $15 an hour and 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week maximum, not to exceed 20 hours average over the course of his tenure. Please.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Have a great
Jared.
night.
I'll run, you want me to run through some?
Yeah. Nikki, you want to come up? No.
Can we
I
limit
can't believe she
J-
had to sit there the whole time. Are you okay?
Can we, can we limit Jared to one board meeting a year?
Yeah.
One, yeah.
He's gonna get the Richie
One
treatment.
special meeting started at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, he's gonna get the Richie treatment pretty soon. All right. I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution authorizing the hiring of temporary full-time recreation assistant and temporary part-time recreation assistant for the town of Kent. Whereas the town of Kent is seeking to fill a temporary position of full-time recreation assistant and part-time recreation assistant for the recreation department while the town employee is out on maternity leave. And whereas by email dated April 5th, 2021, Jared Kaczynski, Director of Recreation and Parks, has recommended the hiring of John Fenty to fill the temporary position of full-time recreation assistant until the employee returns from maternity leave, and Christopher Heller to fill the temporary position of part-time recreation assistant to fill the vacancy caused by the hiring of Mrs. Fenty as a temporary full-time recreation assistant. Now therefore be resolved. Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby authorizes the temporary hiring of John Fenty as a full-time recreation assistant as his current rate of pay until the employee returns from maternity leave, and Christopher Heller as a part-time recreation assistant hourly rate of $15 per hour with a maximum of 30 hours per week and a maximum, 30 hours, I don't know, and a maximum average of 20 hours per week. I guess we're maxing out at 30 a week, but then averaging out to 20 hours per week over the course of his employment until such time as Mr. Fenty returns to the position of part-time recreation assistant. And therefore be it resolved, Town Board of Town of Kent hereby authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make that motion.
Second.
Second, also just with maybe an addition that John Fenty is to fill this temporary position when Nikki Santos goes out on maternity leave. This doesn't take effect immediately.
Okay,
It only says
Yeah.
until she returns, but it doesn't say.
I thought it said to fill the temporary position in, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, second, or I can't
Okay.
second that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are you
Aye.
having the baby right now?
Where's John?
All right,
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution to hire program aides for the Recreation Department, whereas the town of Kent is seeking to fill open program aide positions for the Recreation and Parks Department, and whereas the Director of Recreation and Parks has recommended hiring Brian Merchant, Shane Rivera-Ruane, Adriana DeSalvo, Joseph DiPero, Vincent Haran, and Michael Panato to fill the positions, and whereas the town board believes to be in the best interest of the town to accept the recommendations of the Director of Recreation and Parks. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorize the hiring of Brian Merchant at a rate of $13 per hour, Shane Rivera-Ruane at the rate of $13 per hour, Adriana DeSalvo at the rate of $12.50 per hour, Joseph Piero at the rate of $12.50 per hour, Vincent Haran at the rate of $12 per hour, and Michael Panato at the rate of $12 per hour as program aides to the Recreation and Parks Department. Be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to the effect of that resolution. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll do one more. Like to make a motion to adopt a resolution to hire seasonal employees to the Recreation and Parks Department, whereas town of Kent is seeking to fill vacant positions for seasonal employees to the Recreation and Parks Department, and whereas Director of Recreation and Parks has recommended the hiring of Justin Rebus and Emerson Appleyard to fill the positions, and whereas the town board believes it's the best interest of the town to accept the recommendations of the Director of Recreation and Parks. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring of Justin Rebus and Emerson Appleyard as seasoned employees of the Recreation and Parks Department, rate of $12.50 per hour, worked through Monday through Friday, and at a rate of $14.50 an hour for hours worked on Saturday or Sunday, with Mr. Rebus working up to 40 hours a week effective as of May 3rd, 2021, and Mr. Appleyard working up to 20 hours per week effective as of June 14th, 2021. And be it further resolved, the town board of town of Kent hereby authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Wow. We're up to item D. We have two items for the police department. I invite Chief Kevin Owens.
Chief Owens, I am so sorry. You're lower on the totem pole than
He has
Jared.
to stay no
He's
matter
staying
what.
the whole
though.
time.
I knew when I was on behind Jared that I was going to be a hard act to follow. An awesome audio visual thing, a baby announcement, and high energy. I promise, though, I will not be as long. I promise that.
Do you want the very exciting contentious police issues back again?
No. We've done with that. I
This
hope.
is nice and easy.
So we have two items. The first one is a new vehicle. I think you guys have the one in front of you. We did go with a different company this time because we use Hudson Valley Emergency Lighting. They do a lot of our upfitting, and the money will stay in New York instead of going to New Jersey, and we'll save a couple $100. The second one is a new hire because of the retirement of dispatcher Bruce Benjamin. We have an opening for a dispatcher. We used the Putnam County Civil Service list, canvassed the top 4 candidates. 2 people returned the things, and the best candidate, we believe, is Miss Kennedy Henshaw. And we'd like to hire her at the end of the month if you guys are good with that.
Thank you.
I'm good with that.
No question.
Great.
Awesome.
going to say, do we do a criminal background check?
Yes. Yeah, no. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for the police. Okay, who wants this?
I'll make a motion to pass a resolution well, I'll do this one first. I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing the purchase of a 2021 Police Interceptor SUV, whereas the town board of the town of Kent is in receipt of a request dated April 1st, 2021 from the Chief of Police Kevin Owens to purchase one 2021 Police Interceptor SUV, the police vehicle, a copy of which request is annexed here to and incorporated herein by reference, and whereas the general municipal law, section 103, section 16 exempts purchase contracts over $20,000 from competitive bidding when such equipment is purchased through contracts let by any county of the state of New York. And whereas the specifications annexed here to indicate the police vehicle is being purchased under a contract awarded to Rockland County, And whereas in accordance with the town's procurement policy and the general municipal law, the town board wishes to authorize the purchase of the police vehicle through contract awarded by Rockland County, New York. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and approves the purchase of one 2021 Police Interceptor SUV for the purchase price of $43,344.95. And be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make this motion.
Second.
Just a correction, it's 45,344.
You have 43 regulars or 45?
I'm sorry, did I say 43?
Yeah.
45,344.95.
Thank you.
They're so good. I'm reading faster than my eyes can keep up.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution approving the hiring of a police dispatcher. Whereas there is currently a vacancy in the town of Kent Police Department for a police dispatcher, and whereas Chief Owens has recommended the appointment of Kennedy Henshaw to the vacant position effective April 28th, 2021, and whereas the town board wishes to accept the recommendations of Chief Owens, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby appoints Kennedy Henshaw as police dispatcher in the town of Kent Police Department effective April 28th, 2021, and is further resolved that the appointment of Ms. Henshaw is contingent upon the passing of any further civil service requirements in a 52-week probationary period. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Bill, do you want to do it?
Sure.
E&F?
The last meeting, we acknowledged a grant from the state of New York through their LISC corporation. We succeeded in getting $50,000 earmarked to fight vacant and abandoned homes in our town. Mentioned before, we have a crisis here, and we need a code enforcer, sort of a foot soldier, to help building department take on this, work with pro champs, and spend more time on some of these homes that exist. Our lake communities have been hit significantly. Lake Carmel is probably got 80 some odd homes that are in need of help. Kentwood Lake goes on, and just was given this map with the red dots, and if you saw Lake Carmel, it's concerning. So, this is state dollars, and it's a one-year term. The grant has started March 31st. We need to move this ahead, and it's my recommendation to utilize the code enforcer's job description and make it, I guess, part-time, the X amount of hours that's in the grant, and hopefully we'll move ahead and I guess find the results and how he's doing and stuff for whatever the future is for this position. Possibly Pro Champs Registry could help pay for this a second year if it's needed. So I'm asking the support of this. He'll be under the supervision of Bill Walters. And of course, he'll be working with Bill Looney. Both of them are highly experienced. And I'm hoping that this guy position will get some credentials with the minimum requirements as far as the code enforcement is. We have to advertise this position tonight and move ahead. In addition to this grant is that, which we need to decide, is there's a contract that the state has required to learn more about the vacant abandoned home problems in our town. And I don't know if you want me to continue to work and negotiate with Patterns for Progress on this contract that will get into some of the data that the state wants to see and for future, possibly help us out with future grants. This is 100%. It's $50,000. I think the state gets like $1,000 back of that amount, but it's a beginning. It's taken 5 or so years to fight for this. I still think that in some instances, our town has an identification issue with Kent, New York, up near the Canadian border. So I'd ask you to create this position. I ask you to advertise this position. And if you want me to continue to work on this contract and tidy it up a little bit with the state, I'd be happy to do that. And I know that it's not a laughing matter when you have homes on your block and there's so many different types of zombie homes or vacant and abandoned homes, and we need to correct it.
I think we've all agreed that this is a position we're going to fill, so who wants to read it?
I make a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise for the position of code enforcer for the building department. Whereas by resolution dated March 16, 2021, the town board accepted a grant from the Local Initiative Support Corporation for the town's foreclosed and vacant 1 to 4 family house identification, assessment, enforcement, policy, and prevention initiatives. And whereas in connection with the aforementioned grant, the town of Kent is seeking to fill the position of code enforcer for the building department. Whereas the town of Kent wishes to advertise for applications to fill said position, and now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for applications for the position of code enforcer for the building department. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. One of the things that we've been working on for quite some time is engineering quotes to get a general overview of structural, environmental, and mechanical needs in 3 buildings. To weigh that to see, will it cost to get fixed up or to demolish? One is the 1374 Route 52 town-owned proposed museum. One is the Lake Carmel Community Center. And by the way, we've applied for Preserve New York for that engineering assessment to be paid for, and we'll see what happens with that. The other thing is the old town hall, which might not need as much renovation, but I know there is an issue with water quality. I know there's the roof, maybe 15 years old, but I know there's bathrooms that need a lot of help from what I understand. And there's no question the old town hall needs to be energy efficient. That's one of the reasons why we vacated it. I believe the heating bills were unbelievable, but it is a sturdy building, and we have an engineer that looked at that. We put requests for proposals. We have some engineers that have expressed interest, that provided bids. We went through procurement. I'm working with Chasen Engineering, which actually has offices in, I believe, Westchester and Putnam, and the engineer lives right on our town line there, Putnam Valley. He has looked at the Lake Carmel Community Center. He's looked at the old town hall and the historic building. I just want to let you know, we need data, and this is a general overview. I believe the estimates are about $10,000 each, and I think it's in the packet of what they would do. That information, professional information from an engineer, helps us seek major dollars that possibly could be used for significant improvements, renovations, etc. We need to prepare and do our homework. Now we have to do it because the state consolidated funding program we're hearing is starting to open up with some grants. There's some we've applied for already, and we'll be waiting for that. This is just a general overview of the 3 priority needs. And of course, I think Old Town Hall would have to get some kind of ADA compliance, and we'd see how much that costs us. And maybe the entrance to, oh God, North Terry Hill Road might have to be changed. It's very dangerous. I was there the other day. Somebody slips in it, these cars go flying through there. But I ask you to look at this and If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Now, we just got to tell Chazen that none of these buildings are in Carmel Hamlet in the town of Kent.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kent Deli.
Just so you know, I got a call. They wanted to know if I could get permission from the other town to go visit. This is what I've been experiencing. The grant for the zombie homes, it took me 5 years. Constantly advocating. He says, you made a mistake. We're the town of Kent, Kent Lakes, New York, not Kent up near Canada.
Right, but
And if you Google some information, you actually get Carmel 10512. Kent doesn't exist.
so maybe we can get Carmel to help pay for some of these.
Yeah, well,
Kent up there is not near Canada, it's near where I grew up.
yeah, there's a Kent, New York, near the Canadian border, right?
I didn't grow up near the Canadian border. It is up there. It's up near Rochester, though.
You know, another thing, I know the police chief's here, I told him already. There was a major arrest in Kent on a criminal that beat up or murdered somebody in Georgia. I think he beat the lady up or something, might have murdered. He was arrested here. National news, national world news, shows the map, Kent, New York, up near the Canadian, up where Chris lived. This is what we're experiencing. We're dealing with, needs in our community, and some state officials don't know where our community is.
I got you probably all got it too. We got an email to the council people on a road that I did not recognize in Kent. So I Googled the road in Kent, New York, and it brought me up there near Rochester. The council, the resident up there was sending us complaints down here.
Oh, it's stories like.
So this is what we've been talking about for some time. I mean, this is nothing new. We've been wanting to get this done. It's the first step we get to in deciding what we're going to invest.
And this is a small overview.
Well, I
It's
was
not
just
the
reading
major
it.
engineering stuff. I
What-
mean,
what I was-
Lake
I was
Carmel
just
Community
reading
Center
it.
is going to need a lot of engineering.
It
Yeah, and what
does.
is the Kent Deli?
And one says Kent Deli.
I didn't
And in the
the names are all
resolution,
over
it
the
says
place.
Kent
Town-
Municipal Center, which it's not.
Kent Town Hall.
Yeah.
They're
So
all
can you
over the
just
place.
change the names when you read the?
Yeah, one is Lake Carmel
Resolution.
Community Center,
Yeah,
one is
I'll-
the
I'll straighten it out.
1374, and the other one's the old
But I
town.
think the one.
It's
important
listed as
thing of this is
1320.
Just what you said, this is a generic overview. They're not gonna open up any walls. They're gonna look and do a visual inspection of all the mechanical, structural stuff that they can see. They're not gonna be,
In Lake Carmel
Internal.
Community Center, there are walls that are open.
well, that's great, but they're not gonna do anything other than that. All right, we ready on this one?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution accepting proposals for existing facilities condition assessments. Whereas the town board is in receipt of 3 proposals from the Chazen companies to provide facilities condition assessments at each of the following facilities in connection with the potential grants. Number 1, the Lake Carmel Community Center at 10 Huguenot Road. Number 2, the Old Town Hall. Is that what that one's supposed to be?
No,
Yes,
no,
3020 Route 52.
no. The old town hall is 770.
30.
So what are we calling number 2?
1374 Route 52.
What's your nickname?
The
Yeah.
the
Historical.
historic building at 1320 Route 52 and the old Kent Town Hall at 770 Route 52. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Herein after collectively the proposals, and whereas by resolution dated December 15, 2020, the town board accepted the proposal of the Chazen companies to provide an on-call engineering services, and whereas the town board wishes to accept the proposal submitted by the Chazen companies, now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the proposals submitted by the Chazen companies and authorizes the company to complete the facilities condition assessments consistent with the terms of the proposals, and it is further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. Make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we're up to H already. We only have to go down to N. The next few items are for the Lake Carmel Park District. We have a management contract from Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology Incorporated, Life Incorporated, for Q-Trine Ultra, copper sulfate, treatments, pesticide, permitting fees, and Division of Water permitting fees. We did this last year, we bid it out. We thought that Life gave us the best value in terms of the services, in terms of the regular kind of monitoring of the lake. Last year, we did not do 2 treatments of the lake, nor did we the year before either. Knock wood, we won't have to do any this year. But we don't want to get to a point where the lake is in really bad shape, and then we have to wait for a meeting, and then we have to go through this and have extensive closures. So this is the company that we've had doing it for quite some time. He notifies us if he feels the lake needs to be treated, and all board members that are aware, members of the community, it's posted. But I think we'd like to probably get the permits going, so if we have to, and hope that we don't have to do any treatments this year. I don't know if we want discussion.
Very important.
Anyone in the public?
Anybody have anything to say on it?
That's Chris, fine. You're looking for the resolution?
No, I got it.
That are being proposed, are those that have late treatments or is it entire late treatments? Treatments are only done after the late treatment. The same question last year.
It's whatever it was last year. But I do not see it being said that it's done in, yeah, treating half the lake.
Yeah.
It is half.
But we didn't even do 2 treatments last year. He started with the swimming areas and didn't do the other side of the lake.
Right. So again, just to clarify, a treatment is considered half
Mhm.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution accepting the proposal for lake treatment services. Whereas there is a need for algicide treatment at Lake Carmel, and whereas Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology Incorporated is the sole company that provides the algicide treatment required for Lake Carmel. And whereas the town board believes it's in the best interest of the town to accept the proposal submitted by Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology Incorporated in the amount of $17,960 for 2 treatments for Lake Carmel, and authorize the obtaining of a permit from New York State DEC and New York State Division of Water. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves the Q-Trine Ultra algicide treatment of Lake Carmel by Limnology Information and Freshwater Ecology Incorporated for the price not to exceed $17,960, consistent with the annex proposal, and authorizes the town supervisor to execute all documentation required to obtain all necessary permits and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. To make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next thing we have is for the Caravan sand for the Lake Carmel beaches. We got 3 quotes. One from John Belsha at Stroker Trucking at $48 a yard, number of yards 70. We got a quote. We didn't get a quote from Bedford Gravel and Landscape. We didn't get a quote from Red Wing Sand and Gravel, and we got a quote from West Hook Sand and Gravel for $62 a ton plus $12 delivery fee. And there's like a conversion for yards to tons. I'm not gonna, my brain is hurting. So the lowest price was the $48 per ton. This is actually who we've used for quite a few years now.
Back when I was
Every year. So I recommend that we accept the quote from Stroker Trucking for the Sanford one. No?
I make a resolution accepting a quote for beach sand, whereas Lake Carmel Park District Clerk has advised the town board that there is a need to purchase beach sand within the Lake Carmel Park District. And whereas in accordance with the town's procurement policy, the Lake Carmel Park District Clerk requested quotes for 70 yards of sand with delivery and received 2 quotes in response to such request, a summary which is annexed here to and incorporated herein by reference. Whereas Stroker Trucking of Middle Island, New York has submitted the lowest quote in the amount of $3,360. And whereas the town of Kent wishes to accept the quote of Stroker Trucking. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the quote of Stroker Trucking for 70 yards of sand delivered to the price of $3,360. I make that motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's that time of year again, Porta Johns. So we solicited quotes from 4 companies: United Rentals of Fishkill, New York, John to Go, West Haverstraw, EnviroClean, Porta Potty, and A John Incorporated. United Rentals has the lowest price quote for the 2021 season, year-round units, and they are the recommended vendor. And so we have individual quotes that were provided in the backup materials for the various features.
Question.
Yes,
Lake Carmel is separate from our town bid. But the other porta johns, we have some at the parks and stuff. I thought we bid them out.
It's all part of the same bid.
Excuse me?
It was all done in one bid.
They did a one for Lake Carmel and Parks and Rec.
Oh, it's a new
So
one.
it's all
Okay.
together.
I think
So
they're
they'll be
they're
changing.
getting quotes. It's not a formal bid anymore. It seems to be getting quotes.
Okay.
So then for budget, we just prorate it? Right,
there are quotes for each. of
Oh,
the-
it
They
is
broke it
broken
out
down.
by, yeah, just separate
By
columns.
location.
Got
East Park is sometimes a little more because of it.
Yeah, so we allocate them. where we get them. Okay,
I can read it. I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution to accept a quote for rental of porta johns. Whereas there's a need to rent portable toilets for Park District Number 1, Lake Carmel, including beaches 2, 3, 4, 7, and the maintenance garage, and the Kent Recreation Department, including Edward Ryan Memorial Park and Eustis Park. And whereas in accordance with the town's procurement policy, that Lake Carmel Park District Clerk requested quotes from 4 companies and received 2 quotes in response, copied of which are annexed here to and incorporated herein by reference. And whereas United Rentals of Fishkill, New York has submitted the lowest quote, and whereas the town board of the town of Kent wish to accept the quote submitted by United Rentals for the calendar year 2021, now therefore be it resolved, town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the rental of porta johns from United Rentals at a price set forth in the quote annexed here to for the calendar year 2021. And the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms hereof, all in form satisfactory to the supervisor and town attorney. I make that motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have, we need to add, does everybody have the tree removal in there?
Yeah.
We need to add the removal of large maple with the damaged top on town property. I'm sorry, we weren't going to put this in because we were waiting for quotes that came in kind of at the last minute. Larry Reynolds Tree Service gave us a quote of $1,100. Jimmy Trees gave us a quote of $1,500. And Al's Logging gave us a quote of $1,900. So I recommend we take the Larry Reynolds bid, the lowest bid of $1,100.
I make a motion, we add the item to the agenda.
Second.
Yeah, add the
Yeah, the item.
yeah, well, we
Yeah.
can talk about the item. We have to add the the resolution to the agenda. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have to add the resolution to the
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah.
and I
That's what
read it
that's what
out,
I just
right?
seconded. I thought that's what you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, I was just doing the discussion of it.
Aye. And then now we'll make the resolution.
Hmm?
Want me to read it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have it. I
Oh.
just went backwards.
You want mine?
You can read it.
Okay. I make a resolution accepting a,
Okay, so what Paul was saying is we make a resolution to add
I think they.
the,
Paul did, and I seconded.
okay. All right, all in favor, yeah.
Aye.
now I can read the
Now you
resolution.
can
We're all good. I make a motion to read the. I make a resolution accepting the quote for tree removal for Lake Carmel Park District, whereas there is a need for the removal of a compromised tree in the Lake Carmel Park District. And whereas accordance with the town's procurement policy, the town requested quotes for the removal of the trees and received 2 written quotes in response. Copies of such quotes are attached here to and incorporated hereby. And whereas Larry Reynolds Tree Service has submitted the lowest quote in the total amount of $1,100. And whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to accept the quote submitted by Larry Reynolds Tree Service. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves the removal of the damaged tree in the Lake Carmel Park District by Larry Reynolds Tree Service for a price not to exceed $1,100. I make that motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 The next item is pretty pro forma. It's the Putnam County real property contract. We do this every year. The parties agree that the county shall prepare the county assessment roll. There were no changes in this, were there, Nancy? This is the same contract we sign every year with
Yes.
the county.
No questions? I'd like to make a motion passing a resolution approving Putnam County real property tax service contract for calendar year 2021, whereas the town of Kent has received from the Director of Real Property Tax Services of the County of Putnam an agreement entitled Putnam County Real Property Tax Service Contract in the form annexed here to the contract whereby the county proposes to provide real property tax related services to the town for the 2021 calendar year as described in the contract, a full and complete copy of which is annexed here to and hereby made a part hereof. And whereas the town board of the town of Kent has determined that the contract is in the best interest of the town and desires to enter into the contract. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves the contract with the county of Putnam in the form annexed here to, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute the contract in the form annexed here to. I make this motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item, we have 2 planning board items. One is to return an erosion control bond and escrow fees on the property tax map 42.07-1-17 on February 11th, 2021. The Kent Planning Board reviewed material pertaining to the recommendation noted above, and it was agreed to forward it to the town board for action. It was unanimous by the planning board that they accept the recommendation of the planning board to return the Western surety bond in the amount of $13,000 and a cash bond submitted in 2006 in the amount of $9,235 and any funds remaining in the escrow account.
I will read the motion.
Okay.
Make a motion authorizing the release of the erosion control bond and cash surety bond and inspection fees. Whereas the owner of parcel of land at Fiscal Hall Road, Town of Kent, New York, identified as tax map number 42.07-1-17, the lot posted a bond for an erosion control with the Town of Kent and has submitted a requested planning board the remaining funds of the erosion control bond.
cash area bond and inspection fees be released to the owner, and whereas the planning board at a meeting held on February 11th, 2021, adopted resolution number 3, recommending the release of the balance of the erosion control bond in the amount of $13,000, the balance of the cash and surety bond in the amount of $9,235, and any remaining escrow fees. And the town board of the town of Kent wishes to follow the recommendation of the planning board. Now therefore be it resolved, town board of the town of Kent hereby authorize the release of the bonds as read and any remaining escrow as outlined above. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have another recommendation from the planning board on March 11th. Kent Planning Board reviewed material pertaining to the recommendation of the above, agreed it was appropriate to forward it to the town board to accept an erosion control bond in the amount of $4,500 and a final inspection fee in the amount of $1,000 from Roger's Son, tax map 19.12-1-20. It was a vote of the planning board. 5 members voted aye, 2 members were absent, so carried unanimously among planning board members present at the meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution accepting erosion control surety bond and escrow for inspection fee. Whereas the planning board of resolution number 4 of the year 2021 dated March 26, 2021 has recommended that the town board accept an erosion control bond in the amount of $4,500 and an escrow for the final inspection fee in the amount of $1,000 for the owner of the property located at 3 Westwood Drive, identified as tax map number 19.12-1-20. And whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to follow the recommendations of the planning board, now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the recommendation of the planning board and approves the posting of the above referenced bond and escrow for inspection fees. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next item is our Nrpa coverage, which will be effective from 4/8 to 4/8/21 to 4/8/22. We received a quote from Nrpa with the premium would be increasing from this year's premium of $278,031.15 to $286,021.14. An increase of $79.90, which is a 2.8 overall increase. We received some explanation, there's increases all over. The average increase from private marketplace is in the 10 to 15% range. And that's kind of why we're in Nrpa. Property values are increasing, blah, blah, blah. One of the things, so I contacted Kieran Boyle at Brown & Brown and asked if we could possibly get a reduction because I wasn't really happy with 2.8% increase. I haven't heard back. He was going to get back to me, within the next couple of days, obviously before the 8th. But one of the suggestions that he had made was reducing the uninsured motorist limit to 50,000 from the current 1 million previous savings, which would reduce the policy by $7,500. So it would be like a 400, almost just like a $500 increase. But he also recommended that we add cyber liability protection, which would then bring it up by $5,582.50. So it would be it would still be an increase, obviously, but not a $7,900 increase. It would be closer to a $6,100 increase if we followed those recommendations.
So can we approve a motion to accept the insurance removal at an amount not to exceed 286? And then if we're able to do as you outlined below, then that'll come in under it and you'd be able to approve it.
Right, as long as we would approve reducing and adding the cyber liability.
Is anybody concerned with reducing the uninsured motorist limit to 50,000 from 1 million?
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
You
Is that a
know,
miss?
I had spoken to him about it. He said 50,000 is the state mandated limit. And he also said that that's their recommendation to municipalities.
All right.
So uninsured motorists meaning our employees are uninsured or we run into an uninsured?
Get hit by an uninsured
Right.
motorist and they're not going to cover your expenses because they have no insurance.
They're out there.
Oh, it's happened.
I mean, we could also see if there's a figure kind of between 50,000 and 1 million, because 1 million kind of seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And then
maybe
what are we
50,000.
upping then? What's the other?
We're adding.
Cyber
Adding
liability.
cyber liability. We don't have to, obviously.
Yeah.
Does that mean if like the town gets hacked or they mess or they hold us ransom
Yeah.
for to open up our files?
That's what it is.
I mean, I don't have a hesitation. My only concern is it's like, hey, you don't really need this much insurance, which we've been paying now for a couple of years based on their recommendations. So they lower us, but they're like, you know what you really need?
Yeah, right.
Is this, which they haven't been offering us the last 5 years, which basically washes out. And I'm not implying any anything other than good faith, but you know.
They had recommended in the past the cyber liability, which we had not taken advantage of.
So we have no liability protection at all for our internet or right now at all. I mean, if we were to get hacked and held ransom to get our files back, we have,
I don't think I'm going to say that.
well, why would we want, if we do, why would we want to double it up, you know? Do we have like Norton? I don't know. McAfee?
Yeah, we have McAfee. We can also opt, which is something that I explored, we can opt not to do that now and add it at any time. So if we want to do a not to exceed with the original amount and explore other options between 50,000 and 1 million and explore the cyber liability protection, we could either be refunded or pay an additional premium.
So our deadline here is because our insurance is going to lapse, right?
Lapse.
Every year in April. So if we go with the $50,000, the reduced, right? Then we're covered up to $50,000. And if we don't go with cyber, then we've reduced it under 286. And then we could buy additional amounts because we're already insured to up that auto back
Right.
up and add the cyber, but we couldn't reduce the auto after we accept it.
Right.
And that's their recommendation. So I mean,
Yes.
I would say let's do the reduced auto. And
Hold off on
then
the cyber.
and then we can touch base with them further between now and next meeting and then add back.
Right, because they say approximately $7,500 anyway, so we would need the exact quote on that. So we could do a resolution, say, giving the top number, but with the understanding that we're reducing the uninsured motorist to 50,000.
And I hate to belabor this late, but so the uninsured motorist, the idea is that because we're no fault would kick in. Everybody's insurance policy covers their own things. But if you have an uninsured motorist, then their policy isn't covering theirs. But the reduction of 50,000 wouldn't necessarily take away our insurance for things that are outside of no fault, right? So there's no fault insurance when you get hit, but then there's things that bring you outside no fault, right? If you like break a bone or something, right? There's like a schedule of things. You're looking at me, Nancy, but I think there's a schedule of things that happens like, okay, no fault is like, yeah, things are okay, right? And then once you get when something really bad happens, you exit no fault, right? And you start getting into different coverages, I think.
Yeah, an uninsured motorist, is when there's an accident involved and you're the victim and the other driver has no insurance. So you turn to a fund and the minimum requirement is $50,000. And then that's all we'd be able to recover on behalf of whoever was injured or the property damage or whatever.
Okay.
I can read it if you'd like. I'd like to make a motion authorizing the adoption of a resolution regarding insurance renewal, whereas the town's liability insurance policies are in need of renewal, and whereas the town board is in receipt of the 2021-2022 insurance proposal from Brown and Brown Insurance, and whereas the proposal details all coverages and limits for liability, property, crime, equipment, auto, public officials, law enforcement, umbrella coverages, boiler and machinery, and crime coverage. It's exciting. And a copy of the proposal is annexed here to and incorporated by reference. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent approves and accepts a proposal from Brown and Brown to renew its insurance policies for liability, prime, property, crime, equipment, auto, public officials, law enforcement, umbrella coverage, boiler manufacturing at an annual premium of not to exceed $286,021.14 and reducing the portion of coverage for uninsured motorists to $50,000. And be it further resolved, the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms hereof, and satisfactory to the supervisor and the town attorney. I make that motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have, we had a mechanic in our municipal repairs transfer out of the department, which left an opening in the department. And our service manager had advertised, obviously within the bargaining unit, and then outside the bargaining unit when no qualified candidates came forward from within the bargaining unit. He did a number of interviews, and he is recommending that the town board approve the hiring of Nicholas Matos for the position of mechanic in municipal repairs, contingent on the results of a pre-employment drug screening, as is standard for us. Nick was very impressed with this gentleman's qualifications, and he's really looking forward to us approving it. Yep.
I make a resolution to hire a mechanic for the municipal repairs department. Whereas the town of Kent wishes to hire a mechanic in the municipal repairs department, and whereas Nicholas Matos has demonstrated the proper qualifications to fill the position of mechanic. And whereas the town board wishes to hire Mr. Matos contingent on the results of pre-employment drug screening. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring of Nicholas Matos as a mechanic in the municipal repair department effective as of April 19th, 2021, contingent on the results of a pre-employment drug screening. And be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next item is advertising for mowing services at the abandoned cemeteries. We do this kind of every year. It's been suggested that we actually do a 3-year contract. We could advertise alternatively, like we do sometimes with bids for like an hourly or contract price. We could do an alternative 1-year, 3-year that people would submit proposals for each. I've spoken to some people who also have said that right now it's a May through October cycle, but we might want to, is it May, October, or May, September? It's 5 months. May, September, we might want to add an additional month. We can look at that down the line. If we're asking for a monthly cycle, just ask for bids for the month.
So you think we ought to add like October to it?
Yeah,
Make it a six.
make it a 6 month.
Okay,
Okay.
we good with it? I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise for bids for mowing and cleanup services for cemeteries in the town of Kent. Whereas the town of Kent wishes to advertise for bids for mowing and cleanup services for cemeteries located in the town of Kent. And whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to authorize its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for bids for mowing and cleanup services for cemeteries located in the town of Kent. Now therefore it be resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for bids for mowing and cleanup services for cemeteries located in the town of Kent. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to add something to the meeting, just kind of for discussion. I don't think we need to actually vote on this. Usually we just discuss this, but I know I've been thinking about it a lot, and I started talking to the people at Fireworks Extravaganza about doing our fireworks show this year. Obviously, last year we missed it, and I think everybody really missed it. So I gave Fireworks Extravaganza a call. They're our regular supplier of fireworks. We have the gentleman who does our shows, tries to do our shows on a regular basis, does a great job, Mike Islin. And so I asked him for, some dates that were available, because obviously we have known from past experience that the 4th of July is impossible to book. And generally the 3rd of July as well is a more expensive time. They're dealing with a lot of other towns and cities. So I just got this information, and I'm kind of sorry that I hadn't had it earlier today. It was recommended to us that the availability was the Saturday before or the Saturday after. I don't think we want to do a midweek show, obviously. 4th of July is on a Sunday this year. And
So 4th of July is out,
But the
3rd of
is-
July is out. How about the 2nd of July, Friday night? Is that out?
I would have to go back to them. That wasn't the availability that Mike gave me for himself. I also contacted, so we have always paid $10,000 for the fireworks, not always, but the town can only pay $5,000, and the rest is done through a fundraising arm that it's not the town. So I emailed and said, can we do better than it was raised a few years back to $11,000. So the town still puts in $5,000, and $6,000 was raised through donations, which we're very lucky that we have, such good residents and businesses in and around the town that have always contributed to our fireworks. So I got an email today from Fireworks Extravaganza. The problem we have is the week of the 4th, and it's so difficult to do all the requests. If you select a date other than 6/28 to 7/5, we can go back to the old contract amount of $10,000. Please let me know what date you would like, and we can work with you in any way we can. So if the board wants me to go back and look at another date, I know in the past we've tried to do it on a Saturday because we do the events with recreation and the library, and we try to make it a full day. we do the backyard Olympics and the library has an event and then Arts on the Lake does a concert. So it's kind of nice to have it on a Saturday where most people are home instead of like on Friday where people would, we probably wouldn't do a full slate of events, but I'm open to,
So you get a better deal if you're not.
We did
close
it
to-
July 10th.
So if we did like December 6th, we should get a really good show, really cheap.
right, but we're not going to be able to do the backyard Olympics. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, try to get, the weekend before or the weekend after. It's all we can do.
Yeah, we can have the Saturday before, the Saturday after. We can have the Saturday before, we could take the Saturday before and make the Saturday after our rain day.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I'll have, I can give them a call tomorrow and then for the next meeting, we can approve the contract because we'll have to give them a deposit.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. I ask the town board to approve the following vouchers up to April 6, 2021. Allegiance Trucks, $11,813.78 for truck parts. Semco, $4,357.38 for Water District Number 1. City Carding, $6,393.44, $6,289.99, and $7,882.82 for Lake Carmel Garbage. Clark Patterson Lee, $2,820 for planning board services. Commissioner of Finance, $10,887.74 for the 2020 warrants. Global Montello Group, $4,006 for gas. Hogan and Rossi, $5,416.63 for legal services in April. Magna 5 MS, $2,888 for network services. Millennium Strategies, $2,250 for grant services. New York State Department of Civil Service, $206,750.50 for health insurance in the month of April. NICEC, $5,955.50, electric for the police department. Purchase Power, $2,000 for postage. Robert Green Auto and Truck, Inc., $82,063.20 for a 2020 Ram dump truck. $72,994.39 for a van body for recycling. Laura Roberts, $2,520 for prosecutor for the month of December. Laura Roberts, $2,808 prosecutor for the month of January. Laura Roberts, $2,457 prosecutor for the month of February. Royal Carting, $4,943.55 for recycling garbage. State Controller, $27,377 at Justice Court fines and fees. System Development Group, $3,120, the outpost for the assessors program. Town of Kent Municipal Repairs, $9,721.48 chargebacks for the month of for highway. Tri Green Maintenance, Inc., $2,560 for cleaning January, February Police Department. Ask your as read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to keep my announcements short. Putnam County Department of Health has Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off Day, May 1st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Fonsstock State Park at the Canopus Beach parking lot, Route 301 Kent. Pre-registration is required. Call 845-808-1390, extension 43150. The Putnam County Youth Bureau, the Pegasus Program, understanding alcohol and drug dependency, coping skills, fun activities, new friends. And it starts on April 8th. It's Thursday nights at the Putnam County Youth Bureau from 6 p.m. to 7:30. If you're interested, call Stephanie Nocera, 808-1600, extension 46126, or you can reach her through the Putnam County website. And we have, there's lifeguard certification class going on through the American Red Cross, taught by Mike O'Brien, a Kent resident. You have to register no later than 1 week prior to the class. The full course is $400. Lifeguard recertification is $250, and CPR recertification is $100. It takes place at Beach 3 and the Lake Carmel Community Center. The dates of the class are June 5th to June 10th, and this will be on the website. And I've been asked to announce that lifeguards for Lake Carmel Park District must be 16 years old by the start of the season in late June. That's all. I have.
Okay, a couple of things I have. After some emails and thought, we will be scaling back our Kent cleanup effort April 24th. We will be working with litter patrol and some neighborhood cleanups. Beautification committee will meet to discuss fall Kent cleanup day, as well as but we'll be working on our gateway floral arrangements and additional projects. And we're going to need more members to serve on the beautification committee. That's very important. Couple of things, Nancy, if you could find out, because it's still bothering me after the discussion here, the SECA process at the school district is done. And they said we were an interested partner of some sort. Did something go to the planning board, or we were never copied? I think that's very important on what I heard earlier tonight. And I want to make sure, did something come here and we didn't see it? It's very, very important. Something else important. 2 weeks ago, we had Chestnut Petroleum come to present a conceptual plan for the old Bob's Garage. And I did ask voluntarily, voluntarily, that they be a good neighbor and possibly help something in Lake Carmel. And I actually got an email back that they were down looking at Terry Hill Cove. And I believe about 15 or 20 years ago, we dredged some of that. And if you see it now, it's significant. And the interesting thing, there's been no development, I don't think, and the silt and the dirt is coming in, closing the inlet. And I think that needs to be looked at, and possibly the license to Lake Carmel can give Bruce Barber, just to look at that. But the owners did go down, and it might be something where the SECA process, or whatever process as far as this, that might be required to help us out with that. But again, I asked them to try and be a good neighbor and see what happens there. Chris, or when the lake starts filling up, when you close the dam?
They're full.
It's full.
We're okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Rotary Basketball Challenge, April 24th, ShopRite Plaza. A lot of the Kent organizations, charitable organizations, benefit in different ways. Don't forget that's going to happen. And that's all I have. Thank you.
On Lake Carmel, Maureen, have we heard anything from Inside Engineering on our dam report? At some point, we got to give up on them, because this is getting months into a no response. Our frustration levels, I'm asked at every single advisory board meeting if we've gotten anything back. Now there are grants coming out for dams. One of the grants that just came out is for engineering pre-construction studies. This dam, I believe, would qualify. I believe it's a Class C dam. We got to pursue other options. We shouldn't be sitting and waiting for them. I don't know what our next steps are. Do we call them up and say thanks, but no thanks at this point?
And it's interesting, because with regard to that dam grant that you were talking about, it went around to Insight and to our grant writers, who Insight was like, yeah, we have to sit down and we have to talk about this. So I think it's kind of interesting that we still haven't gotten anything.
And they promised us. I remember, I looked back in the emails, you had gotten a hold of them in January, and they said, we'll have it to you in a couple of weeks. And that was in January.
They've been working with Highway, and they've been working with Recs and Parks on different things too. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a frustrating point, and I think we're going to miss out on some funding opportunities, at least some possibilities to apply for some funding opportunities, because they haven't provided us since last August. This is going on and on and on.
Previously, maybe it's previous where you came on, but they did provide phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 in writing, which probably could be used in the grant submission. Am I right on that?
They submitted what their,
We met with them on what, a very preliminary thing,
what their
and said,
plan
this is
was.
what we want, and that's what they never come back
Right.
with.
The town of Pauling just got a grant for $1 million for their dam for Whaley Lake. And maybe whoever, call him and ask him who they're using.
Yeah, I also happen to represent the town board of the town of Pauling, and that grant was something that they applied for years ago. And it's taken a long process for them to submit all of the documentation, which they couldn't do until all the work was closed out and signed off on, which they just did. So now they've got the money, but.
I was
that
surprised it was from DEC.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that maybe find out what engineering firm they use
I can help you with
Yeah.
that.
for the dam.
that would be a
And
good
maybe-
idea.
Or if any of our on-call engineers at this
Or
point
if
do
our
that
on-call,
type of work,
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
But I think we gotta move
We
on.
have to.
They're not giving us any results
Mhm.
on that.
Interesting.
Anybody else? Does anybody want to come up and public comment?
Uh-oh.
Good evening. My name is John Curzio, Lake Carmel, Town of Kent. I want to thank the town board for asking some really truly good, tough, and valid questions of the school district tonight. And unfortunately, I think from what the school district provided, we have a lot more questions than answers. But I speak tonight in strong opposition to what the school board has as their current plan. As referenced before, there were 3 failed votes on this project. One was a couple years before I was on the school board. There was one in 2017, 2018, and 2019, which was the one that passed. And the school district had this mentality where if they kept losing, they're going to just keep putting it back up, and back up until they got what they wanted, which I think frankly is undemocratic and un-American. I mean, I lost my reelection. I didn't demand a revote just because I didn't get the result that I wanted. And unfortunately, a lot of the school board members, Madam Supervisor and Councilman Eustace and I were part of that meeting with some of the other members of the school board at the time. And there's just a lot of contempt that unfortunately some of these members had towards the Town of Kent officials and Town of Kent residents. And unfortunately, it was just a total dismissal of concerns in that meeting, a total dismissal of concerns of residents of the Town of Kent, of people at the school board meetings, which I think was truly just very unfortunate as far as the whole process in the school board and this project. And also to further that point, during my last month as a school board member, which was publicly stated in a previous meeting, there was a letter sent from the Town of Kent to the school board. And they said at the time that they answered the letter that they were communicating with the town, which was not true, but they said it anyway, which just goes to this pattern of them trying to steamroll through this process and drag this across the finish line, regardless of the means that they use. And it just goes again, and this word isn't used lightly, but the arrogance of them standing here saying that they don't think that they have to comply with the town zoning regulations and going through the proper channels, which there's case law to the contrary, that school districts are not totally exempt from this, from these regulations. Unfortunately, with this board, it's again something that they don't want to hear, a result that they don't like. So much like previous election results that they don't like, they're going to try to go and steamroll right past it. So I thank again the town board for having a great presentation tonight. And again, I'm opposed to it, and I hope that they can answer your questions like they said. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Anyone else?
You don't want to go into executive session.
No.
Work to
Do I hear?
Do this.
Make a
Any other-
motion, we.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi, thank you for
What was the
sticking it
motion?
out with us.
Adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, I thought somebody said executive session.
Oh, Bill.
Bill said it.
It's not happening.
That congressional grant is due. I haven't heard anything from you. I'll come up with something, but you ain't gonna.